Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. Naruto. Get the string fruit and become a puppet manipulator. Chapter 81. As for why the failed forbidden technique you gave will succeed, you should have guessed it, otherwise you wouldn't want Tsunade in such a hurry. The panic that appeared in Feng Ying's eyes made the smile on Xia's face even brighter for no reason, and immediately put away the scroll. After Feng Ying learned that Sasori had captured Tsunade, his reaction was so fierce because he was afraid that Sasori would complete this forbidden technique through Tsunade's medical ability. Then there might be nothing to stop him, so he contacted Danzo, thinking to kill Sasori as quickly as possible. I didn't expect it was still one step too late. What do you want? Feng Ying's heart had already guessed what Sasori wanted to do, but he was still unwilling to ask again. What Feng Ying didn't realize was that both his tone and expression had become extremely frightened. What do you think? My first puppet, who has always reserved a place for you, feel proud. Sasori grinned suddenly at Feng Ying and smiled, and then slowly took out the scalpel, directly opened Feng Ying's abdominal cavity, and started the refining of the puppets, and at the same time did not forget to tease Feng Ying. Kill me, kill me. When the scalpel fell on Feng Ying's body, Feng Ying let out a horrible cry like a pig. He actually felt unprecedented pain, as if countless scalpels were repeatedly cutting his body. Obviously in Sasori before the shot, some special treatments were done to his body. It's not that easy to want to die now. Only by using alive people and full of strong mood swings can the puppet achieve the best effect, and I use a lot of medicine to keep you awake and keep your when you maximize your perception, your awareness will continue until the end of the puppet refining. Although Feng Ying's reaction was great, her body never moved. Mom started to deal with Feng Ying's internal organs with a happy smile, while explaining to him the real reason why she needed to make him so painful. The forbidden technique given by Tsunade is directly based on living people, and the greater the mood swings, the stronger the strength of the pre-mortem will be retained after the refining is successful. The entire laboratory echoed with the miserable howls of the wind Eba and the exhaustion of talking to himself from time to time. Shizune stood by Sasori's face with a behaving face, and provided him with the tools needed to undertake various experiments. Master Sasori has an order. No one can disturb him. Outside the laboratory, when Tsunade and Yikang were blocking Hidan's head and body to enter the laboratory, a group of ninjas appeared at the entrance of the laboratory, blocking their progress. Not even me. Tsunade's face sank, staring at the ninja who was blocking her path, clenched his fists, and might run away at any time. Now even a little ninja dared to block her way. Yes, Sasori-sama said that you can't keep you from making any dangerous moves. Feng Ying has only one corpse. If it fails, he will definitely kill you and make a new puppet, but this is not what Sasori-sama wants. As you can see, Sasori-sama asked me to tell you that when your brain gets hot, think about Shizune. The ninja looked fearless, looked directly at Tsunade, and did not hesitate to convey the words of exhaustion to Tsunade. Call. Tsunade clenched his fists, took a deep breath, and immediately like a deflated ball, he slowly spit out, snorted, sat down in the shade of a tree not far away, and put out an ninjutsu. The scroll began to write and sketch on it continuously. Yikang squinted at the movements of Tsunade's hands. Even if she didn't understand these things, she could still tell at a glance. Tsunade was studying the curse mark on her heart. Obviously Tsunade was still persistently saving herself. Yikang smiled disdainfully. Since Sasori dared to let Tsunade's freedom so free, she obviously didn't worry that she could crack the curse seal, and even if Tsunade cracked the curse seal, the weird Shizune might still be another curse of Tsunade. Yin locked her tightly. Not letting Tsunade in, Yikang naturally didn't think she had the right to go in, but she still subconsciously asked the ninja who was blocking the door. She can't enter, let alone my mother-in-law. No, Sasori-sama said you can go in. But it's best not to disturb him. The advice of Sasori-sama is to let you stare at Tsunade-sama, in case she does anything stupid. What both Yikang and Tsunade didn't expect was that the ninja actually said that Sasori allowed Yikang to enter, but at the same time he also expressed his exhaustive suggestion in front of Tsunade and Yikang. Why? In exchange for Tsunade's cold snort and Yikang's doubts, Yikang once thought that he knew enough, but every time she made a decision that was completely unexpected to her, she seemed to be able to help Sasori perfect the forbidden technique. Tsunade should be more useful than the self who can only fight, but Sasori's decision is obviously to be more assured of himself. "My lord said you are your own," he said. Yi Kang's whole person suddenly rejuvenated. Yi Kang showed a touch of joy, and immediately asked, "What else did he say?" "Gone." Although he didn't say more things, it still made Yi Kang feel a sense of being valued. Even if he is not favored, he is still his own, and even if Tsunade is favored, he is still an outsider. Humph. With this level of understanding, Yi Kang immediately revealed a sense of superiority from the heart, and the eyes staring at Tsunade became sharp, as if they were two concubines fighting for large and small rooms, and Yi Kang was determined. "It's the same as that of the eldest lady." Tsunade let out a cold snort of disdain, and immediately continued the experiment in her hands, but she didn't know why she was inexplicably angry about losing to Yi Kang. The confrontation between Tsunade and Yi Kang can be said to be caused deliberately. For two people who are equally eager to fight for strength, it is best to give them a hint and let them fight for themselves as the best. A woman's ability to associate always stronger than men. Sasori locked himself in the laboratory. For half a month, when both Tsunade and Yi Kang were waiting in a hurry, Xion suddenly walked out of the underground laboratory. "Let's go, it's time to leave. I heard that the outside world is wonderful, and the country of wind is too small." Sasori's face looked a little pale, but there was a hint of excitement. Before everyone could speak, he waved his hand at the people first, and turned his eyes to the direction of the wind country, with a hint of understanding in his eyes. In the past half-month, he suddenly saw through many things and changed many of his original plans. Sure enough, with the continuous improvement of his status and strength, the customized plans for himself will also continue to change. When everyone heard Ma's words, they all showed different expressions of 28-3. The ninjas who had been guarding the exhaustion still showed respect and fanaticism. Yi Kang's face turned pale, and suddenly there was a bad premonition in his heart. Tsunade looked at Shizune, who was obviously thinner, standing beside Sasori with a distressed look. After making the decision, he strode towards the Kingdom of Wind without hesitation, and waved his hands at the ninjas who were guarding him, and immediately everyone dispersed and returned to their original posts. "Do you want to leave the village?" When Sasori returned to the residence of the Puppet Clan, all the elders and Chio had already been waiting for Sasori's arrival in the conference room. Everyone's expressions were very solemn, even with a hint of killing. As the current patriarch, Chio asked his mother straightforwardly. Sasori smiled faintly and glanced at Yi Kang, who was pale behind him. He had just made this decision, but the Puppet Clan had already known it first, and set up such a scene. It was obviously the people around Sasori who reported the news. And the only possibility was Yi Kang, who had been Chio's close guard from the beginning. "I originally wanted to sit in the position of the patriarch of the Puppet Clan, and then sit in the position of Feng, but now I suddenly don't feel that way." Sasori smiled a little and didn't mean to hide it, let alone blame Yi Kang. He told Yi Kang the news, just to see how Yi Kang would choose, whether to choose him or choose the country of wind, and now Yi Kang made her choice. And even if the Puppet Clan knows Sasori's plan, it doesn't matter if he comes back this time. If Yi Kang chooses him, then he will personally tell the news to everyone in the Puppet Clan, and now it's just Yi Kang helping him to do it for him. With emotion, Sasori told everyone of his original plan. Before getting the puppets of Tsunade and Shizune and Third Cage, Sasori's idea has always been simple. When you come to this world, you must use the method of this world to survive, do things you didn't dare to do, and enjoy yourself. Everything he had passed, so he said that the target was positioned on the patriarch of the Puppet Clan and Feng. He always thought that these two positions had been regarded as the apex of the ninja world. But when Sasori got Tsunade and Shizune, got the puppet's forbidden technique and another top-secret forbidden technique, did things that he didn't dare to do, and enjoyed everything that he hadn't enjoyed. The position of the head of the clan and Feng lost interest. Even the patriarch of the Puppet Clan has to take into consideration the entire Wind Kingdom. Even the strongest wind shadow in the world has been made into a puppet by him. These false names are really boring. So I'm leaving. Let me give you a piece of advice before I leave. The Shah family is not a good bird. If you continue to adopt a compromise policy, the Puppet Clan will no longer exist before the end of the Third Ninja World War. Smiling at everyone, Sasori turned around and prepared to leave. He came back this time only out of respect for Chio, and came back to give her an explanation. One thing Chio said in her life is a tragedy. For the puppet family, she lost almost everything. She obviously has the strength comparable to Feng, but for the puppet family, she always kept her voice low. Life, it can be said that her life was dedicated to the Sand family of the country of wind, and she used her life to repay the debts owed by her ancestors. Zero. Not to mention whether this behavior is great or not, everyone has their own way of living, but this is not willing to bear it. Before leaving, Sasori still did not forget to tell the people of the puppet clan of his advice. Although Sasori did not know what happened to the puppet clan and the Sand family in the Kingdom of Wind during the 3 World Wars, but in the years after the end of the 3 wars, the Kingdom of the Wind has no puppet clan anymore. Judging from the fact that 4th Cascade Luasha trained one of his own puppet masters, I am afraid that Luasha has completed the mission that his father 3rd generation could not complete, and successfully annexed the puppet family. I'm afraid you won't be able to leave. Sasori's words made the faces of the puppet clan more ugly, and immediately the elders of the puppet clan stood up, and the countless elite ninjas of the puppet clan outside the house surrounded the entire meeting room of the puppet clan, and hundreds of puppets had already released, densely occupying a large space. The people of the puppet clan may have been very optimistic before, but they cannot tolerate Sasori's betrayal of the Kingdom of the Wind, betraying the puppet clan, and Sasori's strength has been out of control. If he can't hold his master in his hands, he can only be eliminated. 1,000-generation mother-in-law. This is not the same as what we said. Looking at the pale face of Yi Kang, who had been surrounded by hundreds of puppets, Yi Kang suddenly trembled and said to Qiandai. Yi Kang was the leader of the puppet clan since she was a child. After her father died, she kept talking about the puppet clan as her own home, and Chio became her only relative. The thought of the Kingdom of Wind, when she passed the news that she was ready to leave the Kingdom of Wind to Chio, she had never struggled so much in her heart, but in the end she chose the habit that she had cultivated since she was a child, and it will be exhausted. The news passed to Chio. But before that, she also got Chio's assurance that she would not kill Sasori, but imprison him, and would not let him out until she changed her mind. After getting Chio's guarantee, Yi Kang was relieved to feed back the news of the exhaustion to the clan, but now looking at the murderous people around, Yi Kang, who has been on the battlefield, immediately understood that they did not want to capture Sasori alive, but rather, I will kill you directly here. Chio seemed to be asleep, sitting in the position of the head of the family with his eyes closed and silent. In many cases, the guarantee of the head of the family did not represent him, and the head of the family was the most involuntary person in the entire family. I had expected this ending a long time ago, and I never thought that you would let me leave easily. I will show you my brand new puppet, a puppet specially prepared. Sasori waved his hand at Yi Kang, indicating that he had guessed the ending a long time ago. To be precise, Sasori did not intend to leave the puppet clan easily, so he specially prepared some puppets unprecedented in this world, and naturally someone needs to test the strength of these puppets. Yekora is nervous. Is Sasori going to take out the puppet of 3rd Cascade? But to Yi Kang's surprise, Sasori just smiled, and immediately opened the seal scroll, and in the next instant 12 humanoid puppets appeared in everyone's sight. Sasori has spent so long in the underground laboratory doing human experiments, but he hasn't been studying toxins all the time. Before the 3rd Cascade puppet was made, Xie had already started research and development in this area, and the puppet was not necessary yet. In this case, take it out and kill the chicken with a sledgehammer. This is. When Sasori's puppet appeared, everyone was stunned. Sasori's puppet was too shocking to people. In their perception, this is not a puppet at all. It is a person wearing an armor. Each puppet wears a full body armor without a face, and the materials are different, but the color is uniformly painted black. With their appearance, a breath of murder instantly swept the audience. This is the first time for everyone. See the puppets that can bring this kind of feeling except for the 10 people in the Song Dynasty. Intelligent puppets don't need to be manually controlled. I call them Robocop. Sasori was very satisfied with everyone's expressions, snapped his fingers and explained to them. Following Sasori's actions, these 12 Robocops immediately moved in order to protect them from exhaustion, and each of them raised their arms-mounted weapons. As long as Sasori's heart moved, they will burst out with vitality that makes everyone sluggish. Sasori's explanation once again stunned all the puppet masters who returned. Although they didn't know what intelligentization was, they understood that there was no need for manual control. A puppet that didn't need manual control, would it still be a puppet? All the elites of the Puppet Clan were present. At a glance, they really didn't use the line to control these 12 puppets that acted suddenly. Did Sasori really create puppets that do not need to be manipulated? This is simply the history of the puppet masters. The last landmark sign. Using the forbidden technique scroll given by Feng Yang, plus Tsunade to perfect the forbidden technique, these puppets retain the original chakra and the blood inheritance boundary, and have the puppet's body, no pain, no fear, no mercy. Combined with human experimentation another diffracted direction, these puppets still have the memory that I put in them, or it is the program is more accurate. By the way, this technique is obtained from another forbidden technique medical ninja in the land of the earth. It's the black rock that came here. This technique is called sudden brain shao. Sasori's expression was still relaxed, and he didn't intend to hide it, describing the origin of his puppet again. Sasori has done so many things: human experimentation, capturing Tsunade, perfecting the forbidden technique of puppets, taking the prototype forbidden technique from Black Rock, combining them effectively, and finally the Robocop was born. It can be said to be an important reason for being able to quickly get to the present day. Heian's latent exercise sand is only a rudiment, which can only cause confusion and interference to memory. The original Sasori's latent exercise sand can only seal memory, but the current latent exercise sand can create a virtual memory. Like the snail said, it may be more accurate to say that it is a program. By the way, you guessed right before. I am indeed the master's technique that can change people's memory. Looking at the puppet family who was completely shocked and speechless, Sasori suddenly laughed again and slowly raised his hand. On his finger, there was a black worm-shaped puppet the size of a mosquito, and most people didn't pay attention. If you look at it, you won't pay attention at all. This is a puppet. How can I make the puppet so small? The master-level figure of the puppet blacksmith of the Puppet Clan Master Sunset suddenly muttered to himself and knelt directly on the ground. Sasori showed him 2 kinds of puppets today, each of them. They all pioneered the puppet art. I'm afraid that even Monziman will become like him when he is reborn. This is the real reason why Sasori was able to make Shizune and third case cages Anbu unknowingly betray. The special puppet with the forbidden technique engraved with the forbidden technique is also the smallest puppet in the world. The reason why those people become stubborn with themselves is because this puppet engraved with the forbidden technique is placed in their brains, tampering with their memory, making the object of allegiance in their minds become exhausted. Of course, it is very troublesome to use this latent brain manipulation sand puppet. Each puppet needs to be transferred and customized according to the memory of the person placed in it, otherwise it is easy to be found that there is confusion in the memory. The second is that it must be mentally broken, otherwise it will be difficult to complete the task of tampering with memory. This is why the plan for the fall of Shizune and Tsunade has been formulated. While enjoying the two, it is also for the purpose of submerging the mind. The puppet can successfully tamper with the memory of the two. Do you want to go to war? I just want to test how powerful these Robocops are. Sasori's gaze slowly swept across all the puppets, and a provocative smile suddenly appeared at the corner of his mouth. At this moment, he suddenly wanted to try it. Which one is stronger, the puppet that needs manual control or the smart puppet? But the collision of the new era and the old era. Come on, don't admit it. Seeing that the puppet master of the Puppet Clan hesitated, he suddenly hooked his fingers at the crowd. Sasori was full of provocative eyes and tone, and immediately caused many elites of the Puppet Clan to become angry. Even if they did not get the instructions of the elders to attack, more than a dozen people moved. 40 or 50 puppets rushed from all directions and came first. The attack is a rain of hidden weapons. Sasori stood there and smiled. He didn't mean to move. The next moment the 12 Robocops moved, and the 3 Robocops stepped back neatly. 6 metal arms suddenly popped out of the 2-sided folding shields. The area where exhaust was located was firmly wrapped. The remaining 9 Robocops suddenly raised 2 barrels on their arms. 18 2-fingered arrows shot out from the barrel, evenly dividing the circular area around it. The puppet masters of the Puppet Clan gave a cold snort. All chose not to dodge or avoid, and used the puppets to resist the arrow attack. The arrow in everyone's puppet made a muffled noise, and the powerful impact of the arrow made it stuck in the puppet's body. Boom boom boom. Before everyone sneered, a series of explosions suddenly came from the puppet who was hit. These arrows came out with detonating charms. The 18 puppets that were directly hit were immediately abandoned, and even the few puppets that were close by were also affected. The puppet masters didn't care about the loss of these 18 puppets. The intact puppets continued to impact, and the arms of the 9 Robocops flicked, and a long strip of sawtooth that was spinning at high speed popped out of their hands. 9 Robocops. I directly chose close combat. Robocops fighting in close combat are agile, and they are no different from real people. Countless puppets are quickly sawed in half by their chainsaw. They have strong combat power, but their double fists are hard to beat by 4 hands, and there are more and more puppet masters. The 9 Robocops immediately appeared damaged, and one of them was even broken into pieces by several puppet masters. But so, successfully destroyed a mechanical policeman. The morale of the puppet master of the puppet clan was immediately boosted, and I don't know who shouted, and the same thoughts rose in the hearts of everyone. The prostitution mechanical puppet is indeed very strong. But it was nothing more than the strength of an elite Jonin, at best, an elite Jonin without pain and fear. Under the tactics of the puppet tide, it was easily destroyed. Unlike these young elites of puppet masters, each of the elders, including Chio, has an extremely solemn expression. These Robocops have surpassed the scope of puppets. They are terrifyingly powerful, and the most important thing is that they don't need it at all. Control. With these puppet masters alone, it is very reluctant to defeat these Robocops, not to mention that they have obviously not activated the true strength of these Robocops. Activate memory mode. Screw did not feel distressed that the Robocop was destroyed, but nodded, collecting enough intelligence and improving directions. He glanced at the confident puppet masters around him, smiled weirdly, and snapped his fingers again. In an instant, the eyes of the remaining 8 Robocops flashed a red light, and everyone seemed to be a different person, and their actions became more varied. The Robocop quickly dispersed, and for numerous attacks, they no longer blindly dodge, but selectively dodge. For some attacks that are not too powerful, they will choose to resist hard, and then succeed in the opponent. An instant counterattack. Earth-style ground thorn penetration. Water-style water dragon bomb. Fire-style great fireball technique. Wind-style flurry. How is it possible? These puppets can actually use ninjutsu. Not only that, after a short period of brewing, several Robocops suddenly dispersed, and the next moment the puppet masters of the puppet clan were dumbfounded again, and the exhausted Robocops were actually using ninjutsu. Moreover, the power of these ninjutsu is not low, and it can cause irreparable damage to a large number of puppets at once. March with consecutive cuts. Burst fist. Then 2 Robocops appeared in front of the puppets. A Robocop holding a long knife. Every time a knife is shot, one of the puppets must be cut into 3 pieces. And the other Robocop directly blasted a puppet with a punch, and blasted the puppet directly with 1 punch. It is the sword skill of the Gaussian family. Can the martial arts of the Lankang family be able to be used? Let. The 2 Robocops suddenly used swordsmanship and boxing skills and immediately made the puppet masters exclaimed again. Whether it is march continuous slash or burst fist, they are well-known physical skills in the Kingdom of Wind, even in the 2. In this family, only a part of the talents have mastered these 2 physical skills, and now the 2 puppets have resorted to these 2 tricks. How can they not surprise everyone? It's Mu Yujia's pupil technique. Suddenly, a Robocop crossed the puppet's defense line and appeared in front of a puppet master. The Robocop just glanced at the puppet master, and suddenly the puppet master knelt down. The ground screamed miserably, and 2 more puppet masters were recruited. Good money, this is puppetry. A puppet that can perform puppetry. Even more shocking was the last Robocop. He even slowly opened his hands. 10 fingers, and 6 puppets scattered on the ground were pulled up by him and attacked the nearest puppet master. This turned out to be a puppet capable of using puppetry. They can use the puppet ninjutsu is most surprised. After all, a family of puppet master of the house from generation to generation nearly lose 10 public is also able to use ninjutsu. Able to use the puppet body surgery and pupil surgery, they feel the most difficult and shocked. Creativity dried up too, but they are still afraid. It will be up to these puppets when adults come to play on the line. But when Robocop appeared able to cast puppet surgery, they hesitated. Can use these special abilities. Puppet in the end is how he produced. They have learned from the mouth of Sasori, in accordance with Sasori say, before all these puppets it is a person, but now transformed into a puppet. Sasori nothing. Puppet not feel fear, but fear it will puppet master. they are afraid they will become a puppet in the hands of Sasori. A puppet technique can be used puppet. I thought everyone here shudder. Sasori emerged with these tools. Robocop this time thoroughly to make the puppet master lost the will to fight. I would have said, these Robocop retains a lifetime of blood following chakra and bounded in chakra sufficient energy to be able to use endure surgery or lifetime body most memorable way of fighting. How? This is not on a dare. You do not come, I'll come, kill mode. Looked like a monster, like looking at his puppet master, the mother suddenly showing a hint of mocking smile. Some also want to become the puppet master on this point psychological quality. The most important thing is to calm the puppet master, to the best state after the operation puppet, but these just in their own little puppet show some of his masterpieces on cold feet. Sasori not going to play again immediately, and immediately change their battle mode again to end the battle. Enough, you go, since there is no relationship between you and any family of a puppet. But just last start, word to say in time Sasori, Chio is to stand up, directed waved. This is a collision on a new era of puppet art history and old times, no doubt, to Sasori's win in the end. Thank you for the grace tuition, before leaving, the little thing for you to do it, to show in return, just my Robocop has not yet completed the final testing, the actual test is the sole criterion of truth. Sasori was silent for a moment, then quietly put away all of Robocop and Robocop that have destroyed, bowed slightly and then directed 1,000, if not 1,000 words, puppet family heritage treasures of Quebec not to mother hands, not afraid to drink it so fast. Sasori always knew Ebizo early in Chiyoda fish kill himself, but always in 1,000 but maintain their own. No matter for what purpose Chiyoda help her so much, Sasori all from the bottom of heart thank her. Sasori although since that rascal, scum, but one thing has always insisted that it is indebted to forget to report, the kindness of 1,000, when he had just entered the time, the most vulnerable given the great Sasori warmth, will never forget. Was immediately strange smile turned to a country at the wind, turned around to leave. Leaves warehouse suddenly does something wrong like a little girl pulled Sasori clothes, head down, afraid to look at him, and now wants to go, leaves warehouse from the heart wants to follow him, but leaves warehouse takes courage, as long as this time to give her courage, she would hesitate to embark on this road follow Sasori rebel tolerate. However warehouse did not think that, Sasori did not blame her, but smiled and patted her on the shoulder. Chen Sheng said. If you make a choice, do not regret it, whether it is the same for everybody, remember Eba live, since made a choice, then we must believe that he is right, no matter what the difficulties and obstacles encountered, both to go on, if you go elsewhere, so long gone knees not, with the climb, not to the last step, nobody knows what the outcome will be like, you can question anyone's decision, but forever do not doubt yourself. Say these words Sasori, once again let everyone shocked in place of. They see the firm in Sasori's eyes, and perhaps in other people's eyes, he is a heinous villain, perhaps he is afraid of the devil everyone. In this moment there are like everyone suddenly saw the back of a pick difficulties and obstacles in a small way as walk alone, although the foot of the trail full of twists and dangerous, but this road back but always giving a feeling of gritty. Sasori slowly out of the station puppet family, everyone silently to let him out of the way, watching his back until he disappeared into realization. Sasori of the red sand of name branded deep in the hearts of each puppet's presence. On the same day the Kingdom of the Wind's puppet family genius Sasori of the red sand in the Wind puppet family slaughter in the country, the S-class rebel forbearance news spread throughout the community. You are not waiting for third case cage news. Do not wait, he will not come. In a secret base not far from Sunagakur, the country of wind, it was quietly established by third case cage, because the accumulation was all his confidence and elite combat power, and this base was quite close to the puppet clan. Before Feng Ying launched the siege of Exhaust, nearly 100 masters were ready to go. As soon as Feng Ying came back, he launched an attack on the resident of the puppet clan. It is said that ninjas from other countries will participate in that time. Among them, after killing the puppet clan, they killed these ninjas backhand, and threw the black pot to those people by the way. What everyone didn't expect was that this wait was half a month's time. Head, why has Master Feng Ying not ordered yet? Isn't it? The waiting for half a month made many people restless. They didn't understand how the longest waiting time of a few days would become half a month. Some bad rumors spread among the crowd. A ninja of the Special Operations Team plucked up the courage to ask the leader of the operation team, wanting to take a look, because it is a confidential operation, so this leader is the one who contacted the outside world, and everyone else has been trapped for half a month. Up. Master Feng Ying has his own arrangements, we just need to wait. The leader glanced at him lightly, and replied calmly. Although the leader is very indifferent on the surface, in fact, he is also worried about death in his heart. It has been half a month since Feng Ying disappeared. It can be said that the entire high level of the Kingdom of Wind is looking for him. The situation between countries is becoming more and more tense, especially the ninjas of the country of birds. Recently, they have been frequently active on the borders of the country of the wind. Obviously they have been instigated by the country of the earth. Cloud Shinobi of the country of thunder is also coming soon. There was a little friction with Konoha before, and even ordinary people have already felt the aura of the upcoming war. At this critical time, how can the Kingdom of Wind do not have Feng Ying? Although many people are worried about Feng Ying's whereabouts, no one is worried about his safety. Everyone has an intuitive understanding of Feng Ying's strength. If you want to defeat Feng Ying, if there are not thousands of people, it will be consumed by human tactics. I'm afraid he can't do it. Feng Ying should have been delayed by something, so it was delayed. Master Feng Ying. Just when the others who were waiting for the answer were about to speak, suddenly a figure familiar to everyone walked out of the darkness, and everyone immediately exclaimed. Are you still waiting for the news from Third Cage? He is here in person now. But the next moment they saw Sasori standing behind Third Cage, and the 11 Robocops behind Sasori. At this time, everyone realized that Feng Ying appeared in front of them had turned into a puppet. The kill mode starts. When everyone hadn't recovered at all, Sasori had snapped his fingers with a bright smile, and the next moment the 11 Robocops behind Sasori flashed scarlet eyes like 11 agile cheetahs. Into the crowd. Unexpectedly, Sasori of the Red Sand would turn into a betrayal and commit a murderous predicament. Have you found out why? Not only did the news that Sasori became the S-class wanted criminal in the country of wind left, but at the meeting of Konoha in the country of fire, Hokage frowned with the latest information. He couldn't think of what caused the Puppet Clan to be determined. The next clan of the Puppet Clan and the Kingdom of the Wind slaughtered, and eventually defected. Obviously, Hokage's question will have no answer. Feng Ying didn't make any movements. This is what makes me strange. Is it really what the rumors say? Konoha's other elders and advisors care more about Feng Ying's reaction. A genius like this defected and killed so many people. There are no large-scale hunts and arrests. A group of people squinted and looked at each other. According to related rumors, Feng Ying may have been killed, so they turned a blind eye to Sasori's actions. Ahem, I suggest launching an attack on the Kingdom of Wind. Feng Ying is no longer there. This is the best time. If you do it first, you can get more benefits from the hands of the Kingdom of Wind. When everyone fell into silence, Danzo coughed softly, a look of pain flashed across his face, and told everyone his proposal. Others may not know, but Danzo guessed that Feng Ying might have been killed by Sasori. Danzo personally participated in the battle half a month ago, but the battle with Tsunade eventually ended in his defeat. The members of the routes that he took were all killed, and Tsunade alone might not lose Danzo, but he came both Hidan and Hidan joined the battle. These two people don't have any chivalry spirit. They both adhere to the principle that only the victor can write history. Living is more important than anything else, so they have been teaming up with Tsunade against Danzo Jin. Because the thing on his arm was not complete, Danzo did not use it in the end, but fled the battlefield under the cover of the root members. After that, Danzo has no more news about Feng Ying. It is not until now that Sasori defected. He guessed the reason, but Danzo naturally would not tell everyone the reason. At this moment, the Kingdom of Wind has no leader and the army is in chaos. It is a good opportunity to attack on a large scale. If the action is fast enough, the money is good. If it is ruthless, it may be possible to directly destroy the Kingdom of Wind. No. Support. Although Danzo did not explain why he dared to say that Feng Ying is gone, they all knew that Danzo would either not speak. Once he spoke, intelligence is definitely the most reliable information. Immediately, a group of elders and advisors voted on their opinions and attitudes. In the end, everyone turned their attention to Hokage. The proposal just now was only a unilateral proposal by Danzo and could not be a formal proposal, but Hokage has the ability to turn this proposal into a proposal. And Hokage seemed to have not heard what everyone was saying, still reading the information in his hands. Ignore this matter for the time being. Feng Ying is just missing and may reappear at any time. The strongest Feng Ying strength in history is not a joke. You must not act rashly before you have accurate information. Hokage kept sending and flipping through the information about exhaustion repeatedly, until everyone calmed down. As if nothing had happened, he expressed his opinion on this matter, and Danzo's face immediately became gloomy. And we have more important things. According to reliable information, Cloud Shinobi has discovered the true identity of Kushina. The enemy may come at any time. In any case, we must protect Jinchuriki. Hokage did not give Danzo a chance to attack, and directly skipped the topic of attacking the country of the wind, but turned to the matter of the country. Cloud Shinobi of the Country of Thunder had sent people to sneak into Konoha before, and wanted to capture Uzumaki, who was in the blood. The first family, conducting human experiments, was catching Kushina, the princess of the Uzumaki family who was about to become Nine-Tails Jinchuriki. Fortunately, Namikaze Minato found out in time and saved Kushina. He wanted to seal the huge and evil chakra of Nine Tails. The help of the Uzumaki family which was extremely difficult. Also, the mood of the Uchiha clan has been a bit unstable recently, so please soothe it. I have a hunch that the Third Ninja War might be about to break out. Hokage is not particularly concerned about Kushina's affairs. Konoha has never been afraid of foreign enemies, but the affairs of the clan have made him scratch his head. Yes, everyone nodded, and immediately agreed with Hokage's approach. Only by stabilizing the interior of the village can they better face the war between ninjaku. With the disappearance of Third Cage, a large number of spies flooded into the Kingdom of Wind. Everyone wanted to confirm one thing, that is, whether Feng Ying was still there. While dispatching spies, the major powers have also used other methods to prove their conjectures. The small countries adjacent to the country of the bird, the country of the river, and the country of the mountain are all funding them behind their backs. Frequent activities at the border to test whether Feng Ying is still there. With Feng Ying's temper, he would never allow Eba people to be at his door. It's just that even with the constant provocations of these small countries, various spies searched in the country of the wind, and Feng Ying still did not appear. In this case, the country of earth that was beaten by the wind before took the lead in the country of the wind. The Third Ninja War officially kicked off. When the dragons of the Kingdom of Wind had no head, Luo Sha was ordered to be in danger, biting his scalp and becoming the fourth Cage. Because of disappearing with Feng Ying, there were also a large number of elite ninjas of the Sha family, and when Sasori defected, he killed hundreds of them. The confidant ninja who lived directly in Feng Ying caused Luo Sha to be almost a polished commander in the upper position. In this case, Luo Sha secretly met the 1,000 generations of the Puppet family and reached a certain agreement. Since then, the Puppet family has become a solid backing for Luo Sha, all the way for Luo Sha to become a real Hokage and eradicate dissidents. Tong's blood continued to reach the limit to ultimate, overwhelming the crowd, and for the master's economic power, Luo Sha personally tried his magnetic flux characteristics to extract gold sand from the sand that can be seen everywhere in the Kingdom of Wind, and started a business without capital. With the help of the Puppet clan, he started to build a force that truly belonged to him. The Kingdom of Wind has officially embarked on the long road of Fourth Cage to power. At the same time, two relaxed-looking figures walked on the border between the Kingdom of Wind and the Kingdom of Sichuan, chatting and laughing happily. Hey, let me just say, what's so fun about Sunagakur? It's all sand, and the skin becomes dry after a long time. Where are we going now? Hidan, who was still wearing the Cthulhu cult robe with an excited expression, played with the flying scythe in his hand and separated from his mother during the period of time. He was dismembered without effective treatment and sutures. Although he made a name for himself, he was fed up with this kind of life. Following Sasori, not only did he want a master like Danzo to fight against him, just no one can even compare Mom's technique of stitching her body. Hidan knows better that Sasori still gave up the position of the head of the Puppet clan and even Feng Ying of the Kingdom of Wind, and there must be more interesting things to come out. Rain Country, see if you can find some interesting toys, such as cute girls. Sasori smiled and didn't hide Hidan in the least. in Hokage's world, there is an organization or a person who once destroyed Konoha, but in the end he was turned around by Naruto's pig's foot halo plus mouth flicker, and finally he sacrificed his own. The life resurrected the entire Konoha ninja who died in battle. For Sasori, this is simply unbearable. This is simply the second act of idleness plus set off pig's feet, turning this man who clearly has the ability to destroy the world into a supernatural existence. Sasori does not intend to turn this dragon into a pig's feet. Sasori is to receive this precious power, and the conspiracy of the whole world will be slowly started by the actions of this organization. And if it wasn't for the sudden disruption of the plot, both he and Hidan should have been members of the entire organization, so they decided to break into the organization themselves. And this organization is Akatsuki, created by the three of Yahiko, the strongest organization in the entire ninja world, mastered by Six Paths Pain in the future, and it is also the key to Uchiha Madara and Kagayaji who want to resurrect. Of course, just accepting this power is still too boring, but Sasori has already given up Yekora, and made other arrangements with Tsunade and Shizune, and only took Hidan to Akatsuki alone, so the girl is a must, and just so Akatsuki there is a cute girl in the organization. Just as Hidan and Sasori smiled at the same time, a deafening explosion came from the border of Rain Shinobi Village and the Kingdom of Wind, and a huge mushroom cloud also rose into the sky. What a terrible explosion! What caused it? Hidan's eyes jumped, and he secretly estimated that if he was in such an explosion, there was no hope of surviving. And Sasori showed a weird smile. Keep chasing. Can't let him leave alive. On the border of Rain Shinobi Village, dozens of rock shinobi jonin were swiftly chasing a blonde boy lying in front of a clay bird and advancing fast in midair. All rock shinobi have gray heads and murderous faces. They have been chasing after them all day, but they have never been able to catch up with this little devil who is weaker than them. Ahahaha, I want to chase and kill your grandpa. Let's eat the dirt behind. Even the old man Wang Ying has been used by me. Do you grandsons still want to chase grandpa? The blonde boy lying on the clay bird turned his face, with a look of sarcasm, and asked for a middle finger at the people who were getting closer, and then took out a lump of clay from his arms with the other hand and threw it at the people. He chased in the direction, and shouted, "Next, clay bomb, get out of the way." The pupil of the leading jonin shrank. There were 32 rock shinobi who were chased out from the land of the country. But now there are only a dozen people left. All of them died in his clay bomb hands. The power of the clay bombs, how strong they are, they no longer want to experiment with their bodies. For the first time, all rock shinobi drove in all directions. Ha ha ha, scared to pee. Lousie's chakra is not enough, where are so many clay bombs? Frighten you, stupid wow. It's just that they just dispersed. They heard the laughter of the blonde boy who had already flown a certain distance. The expression and actions on his face made the leader of rock shinobi angry. Deidara, I want to kill you. Give it to me. Kill him. Looking at the clay bomb that fell on the ground again, it was indeed different from the previous clay bomb of specific biological form. It was just a prototype of a piece of clay. The leader of rock shinobi immediately realized that he had been deceived. With a roar, he immediately mobilized chakra all over, and rushed at the fastest speed to the blonde boy who was going away, Deidara, the current disciple of Tsuchikage Onoki. It's just that when he passed the location of the piece of soil on the ground, Deidara, who was going away, suddenly twitched the corner of his mouth, slightly opened his mouth at the leader of rock shinobi, and saw the mouth shape. Boom. Boom. Leader rock shinobi's heart suddenly jumped, and before any reaction, the piece of clay under him suddenly exploded. Only a piece of flesh and blood remained. Ha ha ha, stupid. Just let Lousy say you. Can you be a little stupid? You can be a jonin like this, and you're blind as an examiner. We will have a period later. Deidara, who was going away, laughed triumphantly again, and mocking words were naturally indispensable. As long as he continues to ascend, he will be able to enter the woodland of the Land of Rain. By then, even rock shinobi will be afraid of actions in the Land of Rain. Of course, if they continue to chase, Deidara doesn't mind waiting for chakra to recover and kill them all. Are you really going to betray the unearthed country? But just as Deidara was about to enter the woodland of the Rain country, a short figure fell from the sky like a feather, with his hands behind his back, looking at Deidara with a complex face. I'm fed up with you idiots who are locked in a box. I only know that doing things according to the rules is meaningless. And you don't understand art. The art that explodes instantly is so fascinating. You say I am just a spoiler. I'm just using my art to deal with those ninjas, but you guys want me to stay in the laboratory for the rest of my life, and I can't stand it anymore. I want to go out and find like-minded ninjas by myself. Companions create real art together. Deidara flattened her mouth. Unexpectedly exhausted, almost all of Chakra's super clay bombs still failed to block Tsuchikage's footsteps, and was chased at the moment he was about to escape. Although he was caught up by Tsuchikage, Deidara didn't mean to be afraid at all. On the contrary, he showed a face of disdain. Obviously he has no respect for his chief master Wang Ying. The reason why he really chose to leave the land of the earth was not from all aspects of oppression, but that no one in the land of the earth could understand his art at all. The moment the explosion was born was indeed beautiful and a great art. Hello, I heard that you are an artist, and it happens that so are the two of us. Just when Deidara looked angry, Sasori with a smile and Hidan with a wicked smile slowly walked out from behind Tsuchikage. Sasori didn't expect to meet Deidara here, but if he meets it as fate, he naturally wants to take it away. It is meaningless to let him be taken back by Tsuchikage, and Sasori is very interested in what Deidara just said. Of course, it's not about art, of course, it's about letting him stay in the laboratory all his life. Sasori of the Red Sand. Immortal Hidan. Are there two big people here? You think they recognize my art? Sure enough, the art is different. The instant bloom is the most brilliant art in the world. With the appearance of Sasori and Hidan, Rock Shinobi and Tsuchikage who were still alive immediately showed a solemn face. The two S-rank rebels who were officially wanted by the country of Kawanuk and the country of the wind appeared at the same time, and they also appeared in Tsuchikage so openly. In front of him, if it weren't for relying on it, they wouldn't believe it. Rock Shinobi's exclamation made Deidara excited too. For some special reasons, Deidara knew very little about the outside world, let alone geniuses like Mom and Hidan who emerged in a short period of time. Although Deidara didn't know the two, but from the 300 expressions of Rock Shinobi and Tsuchikage, they can tell that these two people are very powerful. What makes Deidara even more excited is that they approve of his art. This is the first time someone has praised his art and called him an artist. What's more rare is that the two people in front of him are also colleagues, and immediately Deidara began to sell himself and boast. But I think the real art is eternal. Sasori smiled. As far as the cognition of art is concerned, he has inherited Ma's point of view. The real art is the eternal existence, so many talents have been pursuing eternal life. There is no eternal thing. As long as it exists, it will decay. Only the momentary bloom is the real art. When Deidara heard Sasori's point of view, his face immediately changed, glaring extremely paranoid, and instantly transformed from an artistic colleague into a life and death enemy. Regarding the topic of art, I think we can argue later. I want to know more about what is going on in the laboratory you mentioned. Sasori smiled again. The point of view belongs to the point of view, but he didn't want to defend this point of view. Aside from this topic, he cut to the point. It can let so many Rock Shinobi chase down to the border of Rain Shinobi village, even Tsuchikage they were all dispatched in person, and Deidara may have more secrets than he believed. I advise you not to intervene in the matter of the land of the earth. The old man did not teach his disciple well, so that he went on a crooked road, and he was in a bad mood. He didn't have any seriousness to start. If you kill you, the outside will say I bully juniors. Deidara hasn't spoken yet to answer. Third Tsuchikage has already spoken with a gloomy face. Tsuchikage's gaze staring at Mom and Hidan is full of threats. A crowd of Rock Shinobi also scattered, and surrounded the four people including the earth and the shadows. Sasori sneered. He hadn't been afraid of the more people tactics, but he hadn't taken any prostitution yet. Deidara was already full of mockery and disdain and yelled at Third Tsuchikage. Crooked road. What is the right way? Like these idiots, only knows to be an obedient bug. Or is it like an unconscious puppet, who lives for the land of the earth and dies for the land of the earth? Or is it like me? Like the other kids who grew up together, died in a certain experiment? Shut up. Deidara didn't say a word. Tsuchikage's face looked ugly. When he said the last sentence, Wang Ying interrupted him in a rage, and appeared in front of him instantly. Earth-style Rockquan technique launched, the fist wrapped in the rock slammed Deidara fiercely. Tsuchikage suddenly took a violent blow. Even Deidara didn't expect it, and the reaction was half a beat, but when Deidara was about to be hit by Tsuchikage, Deidara flew out violently and was pulled to Sasori's side in a blink of an eye. Deidara did not prepare, but it does not mean that Sasori did not prepare. As soon as Tsuchikage shot, he also followed. Parasite String directly controlled Deidara to control him to complete the dodge action. What a strange ability. It can control my body. When Deidara arrived at Sasori's side, Sasori released the parasite string and smiled at him. Deidara had a magical face. It was the first time that he felt his body being manipulated to do other things. What's the matter? I was so embarrassed that I was exposed to the scars. You don't want me to say, I want to say. The people in the laboratory, although they are indeed terribly pervert, they never deceive you. Every time you experiment, they will exaggerate the pain you will suffer several times, so that you will be psychologically quasi-zero. Where are you pseudo-cons? Obviously let us do experiments to send death, but they will outline a beautiful future for us. What will become the hero of the land of the earth in the future, but look at the more than 100 people who joined the plan, who became the hero. Except for me, everyone else is dead, and everyone doesn't even know how they died. Realizing that Sasori's strength and identity are not simple, Deidara immediately regained his previous arrogant expression again, staring at the still angry Tsuchikage with a rebellious face, and all the anger and resentment that he has been stoking in his heart for all these years. It's all expressed. Sasori only understood it at this time, and it was almost what he thought. The Kingdom of Earth is secretly conducting human experiments, just like Heian's forbidden technique, the prototype of the human puppet, the forbidden technique, which Luo Sha gave him. The sources of the techniques are all from the land of the earth, but the researchers who escaped with these techniques before were all researchers, and Deidara was one of the experimental subjects. But Tsuchikage didn't know for what purpose. He didn't protect the subject closely. Instead, he adopted a stalking policy and accepted him as a disciple. For the human test, it is natural that the fewer people who know, the better, so when Deidara spoke, the surrounding rock shinobi immediately looked surprised and unbelievable. Tsuchikage ordered a taboo human test. Everyone couldn't believe their ears, but looking at Tsuchikage's face, it was obviously true. I'm afraid you don't know yet, your respected third Tsuchikage, Liangtianping Onoki, on the surface is full of benevolence, justice and morality, acting like a respectable elder, but in fact, it is a commander behind the scenes. The fool of the medical ninja who secretly carried out the human taboo experiment. Deidara looked at the rock shinobi with shocked expressions with a sarcasm, and directly told everyone the facts of the human body taboo test. When Onoki uttered the 6 words, human body taboo experiment, the whole person became angry and attacked Deidara again. Sasori hooked his finger, and the puppet dragon was released by him. The puppet dragon burst in the middle. After Onoki broke through the defense of the puppet dragon, Shie had already taken Deidara and Hidan to the transferred position. Sasori did not intend to head-to-head with Tsuchikage. Oyemu's strength is quite sturdy, the blood of the 4 elements will die after the elimination of the dust contactor, plus the several gravity techniques of the earth style. Don't be too slippery. If you take out the wind shadow puppet, you may still have the power, but according to Sasori's judgment, in all likelihood, after the battle is over, the wind shadow man puppet that has just gotten will be destroyed. If it is placed half a year later and singled out Onoki, Sasori is definitely worthwhile. It's not the best time to start with Onogi. I just want to take Deidara away and get some information by the way. There have been a lot of medical ninja defections in the land of the country in the past 2 years. You haven't thought about why they are all medical ninja defecting. Because they can't stand the crazy experiments. Sasori is dealing with Onoki here, but Deidara is still roaring. Deidara seems to have found a backer, constantly venting her emotions, and telling everyone what she wants to say these years but dare not say. People. I don't know what experiments other people are doing, but my words are our group, the only successful experimenter, and the purpose of the experiment is to make war weapons, just like this. Deidara opened his hands and showed his palms to everyone. The 2 mouths were opening and closing in his palms, as if they were chewing. After a while, 2 small clumps of clay were spit out from the 2 mouths, forming 2 with the appearance of little birds. The 2 little birds flew over Onogi for the first time. Boom! The clay bird exploded before it even touched Onotoki, but this time the explosion didn't bring any damage to Onoki. Deidara just disgusted him purely. This is not my natural ability. I used to be just an ordinary person, but because of the constant experiments on other people by those medical ninjas, I gradually gained these things. At the beginning, I was also afraid to die, but slowly I'm used to it. This stuff is good. Have you single dogs ever felt the use of mouths? He, super cool. As the explosion sounded around Onoki, Deidara's mood stabilized a lot, and suddenly laughed wretchedly. The last reason was that the battlefield was directly stagnated for a moment and the style of painting changed. It's a little too fast. It's really enviable to use a mouth that can but detonate clay to do that kind of thing. Hidan stared at the two mouths in Deidara's palm, his eyes almost turning green. Of course, the greater advantage of this thing is to make art. The beauty of the moment of explosion is really exciting. It seems that Hidan's slow malice was felt, and Deidara immediately returned to the subject. Deidara was cultivated as a weapon of war and kept prostitutes silent for a long time. However, judging from the current intelligence, the land of the country is conducting at least 2 different taboo experiments, and these experiments have been carried out for a long time. All 3 techniques have achieved certain success. This is why you keep using clay bombs to create terrorist explosions and attack ordinary people in the territory of the land. Deidara looked fascinated by the beauty of the moment of the explosion, while Onoki stopped the unnecessary attack, forcing herself to calm down and want to make the final struggle. Oh, those things were accidental. You know, the explosions are so powerful, it is unavoidable to have accidental injuries. It is normal for you to develop with other countries. It is not common to accidentally injure ordinary people, and you even deliberately slaughter ordinary people. As soon as he heard his crimes, Deidara was a little embarrassed. Deidara is an experimental subject after all and has very little contact with the outside world. His perception of things has been distorted, and the control of the detonation clay is not perfect. In Deidara, after being officially put into use, his several independent missions all turned into terrorist attacks. All he performed were capture missions, but the final outcome was undoubtedly that the target was blown to death by him, and countless innocent ordinary people were implicated and injured. Heavy. Those who are from the enemy country. You are attacking the people from your own country. Listening to Deidara's plausible sophistry, Onoki was also on fire. The purpose of killing enemy civilians during the war was to reduce the opponent's vitality. Maybe it also cut the possibility of countless times the future genius. This is the common understanding of everyone. Okay. You have said it yourself, all are human, our people are human, their people are not human, come on. You are just making excuses for your cruel behavior, we are no different. By the way, I am afraid I am here, you don't count as humans in your eyes, right? Deidara's mouth always had a disdainful smile, and this time it was even worse. He had already seen it thoroughly, and these people in front of him had never treated them as human beings. Enough. Your everything is bestowed by Master Tsuchikage. Without Master Tsuchikage, you would be nothing. You might even be dead. Deidara was full of sarcasm and always quibbling attitude, and finally Rock Shinobi couldn't help but roar. In this chaotic world, life is the least valuable thing. In the eyes of some extreme Rock Shinobi, even if they know that Onoki is conducting experiments, there is no particularly big change. War weapons, this is an extremely beneficial weapon for the entire land country. Deidara to be able to have today's achievements are all gifts from Onoki. If he had not participated in the experiment, he might have died in the war long ago. Hey, do you know why Oyemu would take me in, and an experimental subject became a disciple? Rock Shinobi's roar made Deidara suddenly become gloomy, both her face and temperament became more gloomy, and she immediately asked everyone. Those lunatics in the laboratory, besides doing experiments, their favorite thing to do is eat trigrams and mouth trigrams. They have to talk all the time to prove that they are not mad. That's why I understood why I was accepted as a disciple by Onogi. Because he wants to control me and make me an obedient war weapon. Everything that shit is bestowed. That's right, he indeed bestowed it. Deidara obviously didn't mean to let everyone answer. He started to yell and roar at Onogi with his fingers, and even his facial features began to distort, which shows how angry Deidara is at the moment. In the past few years, I have undergone a total of 176 operations, which were not under anesthesia, because those lunatics have to observe my physical reaction and will state. You can imagine that you are watching your own body slashed away by a sharp scalpel a little bit, while your pain is no sound at all. Do you just watch your internal organs creeping slowly in your line of sight? Because of the side effects of the experiment, I didn't have it. One day is a good sleep, and there is no day in my body that is not painful. Every opening and closing of these mouths will bring me torn pain. That's right, these are all given to me by him. For me can become an obedient, qualified war machine. A series of data was reported by Deidara, and everything Deidara experienced, even Hidan shivered. The human taboo experiments Hidan experienced did not have the pain and horror experienced by Deidara. It's hard to imagine what Deidara has gone through that will make him remember so clearly how many operations he has undergone. What makes everyone even more unexpected is that the manufacturing process of Deidara's killer copper and detonation clay will make him feel pain. Deidara fights with explosive clay. How much pain will it experience after a battle? Deidara, whose expression was already a bit sassy, stared at Tsuchikage and Rock Shinobi mockingly, mocking them and also mocking herself. After taking such a long time in the laboratory, his companions died one by one. When he was the only one left, he also felt lonely and fearful, but at this time Tsuchikage appeared, accepted him as a disciple, and took him away. Laboratory. This is the first time Deidara has walked out of the laboratory after entering the laboratory. At that moment Deidara's entire life was lit up, but as he grew older, Deidara gradually recognized reality. It turned out that everything was a scam. He was just a tool and a tool for war. Tsuchikage took himself as my disciple. I just want to make myself a more qualified tool. How about that? The meaning of your existence is to give everything to the country of the earth. You should be honored to be a war weapon in Tsuchikage's hands. When Deidara's experience left someone in the Eba silent, a fanatical admirer of Wang Ying suddenly roared at Deidara. It's an honor to give everything to you, it's an honor to go to you. Deidara's forehead burst with blue veins, and he was about to rush up, but Sasori grabbed him first and waved his hand at him. Okay, I have finished listening what I want to hear. There are a lot of fanatical followers under the third generation master. If it's okay, we will leave first. Sasori has understood all the causes and consequences, and there is no point in staying here, and now he is ready to take Hidan and Deidara away. I want to leave now. It's too late. Earth-style super dungeon technique. However, Sasori wanted to leave, but Oyeki didn't necessarily agree. Oyeki was suspended in the air, his hands quickly sealed, and he shouted, and immediately 9 walls of nearly 100 meters high rose from the ground, forming a regular 9-sided shape. Trapped everyone in it. It's a powerful Earth-style technique, but you thought you were constantly pouring chakra into the ground when you were chasing. I didn't find it. Sasori looked at the 9 exaggerated earth walls with a faint smile, but he was not in a hurry. When Tsuchikage made a shot just now, Sasori discovered that Wang Ying had been injecting chakra into the ground he passed. Yin, this is the emergence of such exaggerated 9 earth walls. What to do? It's terrible. We are trapped. Are we going to die? But Xie was completely different. Deidara suddenly hugged his head, showing a panic and painful expression, and began to panic and yelled, causing the rock shinobi to sneer one after another. The acting is so bad, this forced me to give 0 points. However, Hidan, who knew exactly what happened, rolled his eyes at Deidara and flattened his mouth in disdain. It's up to you whether you can escape successfully. Sasori also took a ridiculous look at Deidara. Deidara's acting skills are really not good. Ha ha ha, I lied to you. After so long, I have been silently recovering chakra. Let you see what the real art explosion is. Sasori and Hidan opened their mouths. Deidara laughed immediately, and immediately detonated the detonating clay that was also buried in the ground by him. Since he discovered Tsuchikage's intentions, he also informed Deidara of the news through the line and told him quietly, countless detonating clays were placed around chakra under Tsuchikage's cloth, which was used to break Tsuchikage's possible actual combat methods, in order to see how strong Deidara was. And Deidara is undoubtedly perfect in how the yin person is. The action of secretly arranging the detonating clay is extremely concealed. Even Onoki didn't notice it. Regardless of how powerful it is, the technique alone has been recognized by Sasori. Boom, boom, boom. As Deidara exposed his nature, he immediately activated the detonating clay on the wall not far behind everyone. A series of violent explosions sounded, stone chips flew around, and dense smoke enveloped the earth wall. It won't blow through. The next moment the smoke cleared, Deidara was dumbfounded. In his sight, Tsuchikage's dirt wall still stood up. Several unobvious dirt pits appeared on the dirt wall, and Deidara immediately cursed. Both Hidan and Mom were stunned. The explosion was big enough, but its power was seriously insufficient. Hidan asked straightforwardly, "Then you mean we are really trapped? Give me some time, I can have another wave." Naturally, Deidara would not give up easily. She immediately opened her hands and started chewing again with both mouths, ready to launch a stronger wave of attacks, and then broke the walls and prepared to rush out. "It's useless. Another reason why I accepted you as a disciple is to personally feel your strength. I know the power of your detonating clay. You can't blow through my wall. The puppet master Sasori of the red sand, Hidan, there is also no way to break through my wall." Tsuchikage spoke with a cold face before Deidara shot. Deidara is his disciple. He knows the power of detonating clay, and he is very clear, so the soil enhancement he implemented is based on the power of Deidara to detonate clay 3 it is built, so unless Deidara can explode 3 times the power in a short time, don't even want to blow up his soil wall. As for Sasori and Hidan, although Tsuchikage has not done their intelligence homework specifically, he knows more or less that the puppet master and the immortal also don't have the ability to break their own walls. I have never been uncertain, and I have never pinned my hopes on someone I just met. Sasori smiled. Even though Tsuchikage ridiculed him, he still didn't mean to make a move. Although Sasori wanted Deidara, he didn't intend to pin his hopes behind him from beginning to end, not to mention that the other party was third Tsuchikage. Boom. As Sasori's voice fell, there was a deafening explosion on the wall behind everyone, and a huge pothole appeared on the dirt wall behind everyone. Onoki and Deidara's pupils shrank at the same time, and they didn't expect someone to break this earth wall. Onoki is the one who made this earth wall, and Deidara personally tested the solidity of this earth wall, and all have the most intuitive understanding. But now this enhanced version of the earth wall has been pierced. Parasite string. Tsuchikage-sama, be careful. The earth wall burst but no one showed up. Sasori smiled, opened his hands, and the parasite string popped out. All rock shinobi instantly lost control of their body and rushed towards Tsuchikage with exclamations. Does Master Tsuchikage kill these people himself? Onoki's face became cold, and he was ready to shoot again, but he spoke first with a ridiculous smile. Suddenly, Onogi's actions were a meal, choosing to dodge rather than attack, that is, to take this opportunity to expose the 3 of them to take the opportunity to drill into the gap in the earth wall. Want to go? It's not that simple. Earth-style split-wheel technique. Looking at the back of the 3 people away, Oyeki immediately shouted angrily, and slapped a palm at the 3 people in the air. I don't want to let Deidara leave alive. Deidara suddenly heard a violent air-breaking sound coming from behind, and turned her head subconsciously, and suddenly saw the swiftly flying earth wheel. Her face suddenly turned pale, and intuitively told him that he could not hide this time. When Deidara was about to be hit by the earth wheel, his body was suddenly hit hard, and he was the first to knock out of the gap in the earth wall, and his original position was replaced by Hidan, who looked arrogant in Deidara's eyes. In the next instant, Hidan was chopped into 2 pieces by the earth wheel, his head attached to his right shoulder fell to the ground, and blood was splashed everywhere. Suddenly Deidara's heart trembled. Hidan sacrificed himself to save him. The lacrimal glands that had not been active for many years suddenly became a little moist at this moment. Don't stop, go first. Just when Deidara was at a loss, she gave him a faint look, waved at him, and turned back to the earth wall. Woohoo, senior, I won't let you sacrifice in vain. I will stay alive with your share. One day I will avenge you. Deidara sucked her nose, with tears in her mouth, while crying loudly. She rushed into the woodland of Rain Shinobi Village, and disappeared into the sight of everyone in a blink of an eye. Sasori held his forehead with a headache, and Deidara was a little bit more amused than he thought. Just now you said that the meaning of existence is to give everything to the land of the country. It should be an honor, right? I like you, such a fearless ninja. I wanted to kill everyone, but now because of you, I decided to let them go. Yes, but you have to sacrifice. I just have a new idea about smart puppets, but the process may be a bit painful, but don't. You can remember his name. Turning around and returning to the dirt wall, Gia pointed at one of Rock Shinobi and smiled. Immediately, he hooked his finger and pulled him in front of him. With a ridiculous smile, Mom was in front of all Rock Shinobi and Tsuchikage in the face. A poisonous needle was pierced into his neck. Don't let it go. This Rock Shinobi Jonin is the person who was responsible for the righteous words. Deidara should give Tsuchikage 3-0 and 0 everything, and feel honored. And he always thinks so. As long as Tsuchikage needs it, he can give everything to Tsuchikage and the country of soil. But when Ma's poisonous needle slowly stabbed him, he still felt fear from the bottom of his heart. When many things were said about others, his head was clear, but when it was his turn, he realized that it was. Theories that originally sounded reasonable are all bullshit, and you can never feel the mood of the person involved. So Rock Shinobi Jonin's begging for mercy was only just remembered, and it was already extinguished. The whole person lost consciousness and was wrapped in a black cloak and carried it behind Sasori. Sasori actually does not need any experimental materials. When in the Kingdom of Wind, we have obtained enough good ninja corpses from 3rd Cage, and there are even many blood inheritance boundaries, which are enough for Sasori to use for a long time, but it's just that Rock Shinobi is unhappy. Why is it me again? It's so painful. After catching Rock Shinobi, Mom pulled Hidan's corpse in 2 sections to her side. As soon as Hidan was pulled over, he immediately began to complain. It was not he who voluntarily blocked the knife for Deidara, but was taken by Sasori's parasite. String manipulation smashed Deidara out, and the arrogance of Hidan's face in Deidara's eyes was just stunned. At the time, there was nothing easy to do. You can't die anyway. I'll sew beautiful ones for you. Sasori smiled brilliantly at Hidan, without any guilt. Hidan is simply the best human shield by his side. Ignoring Hidan's continued broken thoughts, he waved his hand at Onoki, who was being besieged by Rock Shinobi, and jumped out of the big hole in the dirt wall. After being hit by a siege hammer, the entire tall earth wall collapsed, blocking the way for everyone to pursue it. With Sasori's departure, the parasite strings on Rock Shinobi's body were also unraveled, and everyone knelt in front of Onoki with guilt. They knew very well that if Onoki wasn't afraid of them just now, the others had already been arrested. Up. Onoki's face was sullen, looking at the direction where Sasori and the 3 were leaving, with some hesitation. At this time, a Rock Shinobi helped Onogi make a decision. Master Tsuchikage, the battle in the Kingdom of Wind has suddenly changed. 4th Cage personally took the lead to enter the formation. Magnet style is powerful. Our people are about to be unstoppable. From the border of the country of the earth and the country of wind, a very embarrassed Rock Shinobi appeared in front of Onogi in a panic, and immediately told everyone the latest information about the country of the earth and the country of the wind, and all of them suddenly looked like after a change, Feng Ying actually went to battle in person. This is bad news for the Kingdom of Earth, whether it is morale or strength. Master Tsuchikage, please go to the battlefield and leave it to us. Before Onogi could speak, the crowd of Rock Shinobi who were kneeling on the ground looked firmly in the direction of escape. No need to chase. With Sasori of the Red Sand, it is impossible to capture Deidara, and there is a mysterious person hiding in the dark who can easily destroy my earth wall. This person is not easy. Unexpectedly, Deidara would betray at this juncture, squirting. Let's go to the battlefield of the Kingdom of Wind. Onogi glanced at them lightly, and then walked towards the battlefield first. The person who destroyed Wang Shi in the dark is the person Wang Ying is really afraid of. It doesn't make any sense to stay here. Instead of letting these people die on the way to kill Deidara, let them die on the battlefield. Maybe they can kill a few more sand shinobi in the Kingdom of Wind before they die. Naturally, no one would question Oyemu's decision, and immediately everyone nodded respectfully, and walked behind Oyemu to the battlefield. Ha ha ha. Onoki's face was black at the time. It was a big laugh at me. How did you manipulate those ninjas? And in a hidden corner in the forest of Rain Shinobi Village, Sasori easily found him through the thread attached to Deidara's body. Deidara was relieved when he saw Mom, and he was very familiar and began to taunt Onoki, and just now took the lead to leave the battlefield, with a completely different look of sadness. You will know from now on, do you want to form a team together? Seeing the current Deidara, as if seeing the original Hidan, the 2 people were just as long-winded, but Sasori still sent a team invitation to Deidara. This is the real reason for the delay for so long. Okay, We are all great artists. Your puppet is really beautiful. It's just a bit worse than my explosive art. Deidara agreed without hesitation. That arrogant and proud expression made Sasori find out the difference between him and Hidan, and Deidara became even more narcissistic. Chapter 91. This little devil is so noisy, can you kill him? Deidara agreed to Shia's request. Hidan's head was glared at Deidara because of Deidara, otherwise, he would not be cut in half because of Deidara, so Hidan had no good feelings about Deidara. Send a corpse. As soon as Hidan spoke, Deidara exclaimed and threw out 2 bird-shaped detonating clays, which was obviously a long time ago. It's just that the 2 bird-shaped detonating clays were easily pierced with threads, and they were nailed to the trees on both sides. Robocop. Sasori smiled at Deidara. Don't look at Deidara on the surface like a child with no intentions. In fact, these are all used to confuse people, and the 2 bird-shaped detonation clays were obviously prepared by him a long time ago. Just in case I used it when I was trying to do something, but now I am also scared by Hidan. This guy is immortal, just get used to it, and I advise you not to do anything, otherwise I won't be able to save you. Deidara, who was still flying back, suddenly hit something soft, and subconsciously prepared a reflexive attack, but his movement was suddenly stopped by the parasite string, and the sound of exhaustion came into his ears. Under Sasori's control, Deidara slowly turned around and found that behind him was a beautiful girl with black hair, and beside her was a beautiful blonde girl with a frosty face. The bodies of the 2 radiated, and what I had just hit was the softness of the black-haired girl. Naturally Tsunade and Shizune appeared here, and it was Tsunade who helped Sasori escape just now, and only Tsunade's violent physical skills could destroy Tsuchikage's earth wall defense so easily. Thanks, look at this kid, how is the situation? When Deidara was still surprised by the 2 beauties, she suddenly flashed Deidara and smiled. Forbidden technique that forcibly merges with a certain blood inheritance boundary has many hidden dangers. These 3 mouths will bring a great burden to him. The most direct impact is that when these abilities are used, they will cause great pain. The fusion is not complete. Every time he uses the detonating clay, the properties of the detonating clay will be assimilated with his body organs. In the end, he will become a walking detonating clay. Tsunade's face is not too good looking. He directly pulled Deidara's hand in front of him, repeatedly observed the 2 mouths in the palm, and inserted a few silver needles beside Deidara's mouths, and quickly made it. Preliminary judgment. Deidara's body shook. He always had a secret. In addition to the 2 mouths on his hands, there was actually a third one. This third mouth was his real support. Few people know this secret even in the laboratory, but it was unexpected that Tsunade could easily see through it. And even the hidden dangers of his own body were also mentioned by Tsunade. Can you save it? It's more troublesome, I can only do my best. Then leave it to you. Just when Deidara felt shocked, she spoke again. Tsunade apparently didn't plan to spend much time with Sasori, nodded, and after smiling at her, immediately turned around and left. After completing Shizune's strategy, Sasori didn't continue to rush to do Tsunade's strategy. After using Shizune with a sacred puppet, he found a hidden danger. Although the puppet worms of the brain exercise sand can tamper with the memory, it is also associated with other things that have been changed. Shizune's talent has come to an end. Although she has retained her original memory and abilities, she has lost the possibility of further progress. Practicing brain exercises is not only to tamper with memory but also a forbidden technique to block potential. So Sasori stopped the strategy of Tsunade, and planned to use her brain to manipulate sand puppets after digging out her remaining value. Of course, it is also to maintain the freshness of Tsunade. If you eat all the delicious meat at once, you will feel tired. Who was that pretty sister just now? It wasn't until Tsunade and Shizune left that Deidara recovered and asked excitedly. My woman, you don't have to pay her attention, otherwise you will die miserably. Sasori glanced at him faintly. He saw desire in Deidara's eyes. Obviously she wanted Tsunade, but obviously he was destined to be impossible, and he was not in the least threatening. He turned to Hidan and began to suture Hidan's wound. Although Hidan is immortal, but with too much blood flow, he will still die. Well, senior, are you really immortal? That's amazing. You really deserve to be senior. The whole body exudes a strong artistic atmosphere. Can I touch it? Deidara sighed unwillingly. Although he hadn't seen a real shot, his instinct told him that Sasori's strength was very strong, and he might be as easy as killing a chicken if he wanted to kill himself. So Deidara acquainted himself with this topic, and also turned his attention to Hidan's body, and even stretched out his hand involuntarily, wanting to feel Hidan's body in person. Remove your disgusting hand. Don't stick out your tongue. Are you a dog? Only before Deidara's hand touched Hidan, Hidan had already started roaring. He really couldn't accept it. A hand with a long mouth moved on his body, and this mouth had done some shameful things. What made Hidan even more unbearable was that Deidara's heart-shaped mouth opened, and the tongue that looked disgusting was sliding with interest. Sasori looked at Hidan and Deidara, who were opening their mouths with a headache. He was completely speechless. A Hidan had made the prostitutes feel very verbose. Now it's good. There is another Deidara who is not only annoying but also narcissistic. Fortunately, the strength of the two is strong enough, otherwise they would have become special materials in their own laboratory. How come there are so many people? Nagato, Conan, you go first. The washing will be left to you. We must change this country. Due to the official war between the Kingdom of Wind and the Kingdom of Earth, many ninjas also invaded the Kingdom of Rain. In order to open up this offensive route, the forces of Hanzo of the Salamander, the government organization of the Kingdom of Rain, stood still and just guarded Rain Shinobi. An area in the core of the village obviously gave up the defense of other chassis. Under such circumstances, many organizations and forces spontaneously stood up and assumed the task of resisting the Kingdom of Wind and the ninja of the land. Akatsuki, who has just started a few years ago, is one of them. How come there are so many people? Nagato, Conan, you take people from the secret road first. I stay with the first team. Akatsuki will leave it to you. 3 zeros. Must change this country. In a gorge, Akatsuki's temporary station was surrounded by a large number of rock shinobi groups from the land of Earth. The Akatsuki organization had already undermined their plan many times. This time the large army just discovered the station and the leader of Akatsuki. Naturally, they didn't plan to let it go. As soon as the battle started, Xiao Li, who was in a disadvantaged position, was killed and injured. Yahiko immediately prepared to take Nagato and Conan and the remaining people to evacuate from the secret road, and he would take a group of people to temporarily block Rock Shinobi's attack and give Nagato and Conan create time to leave. However, before Nagato and Conan had time to refuse, there was a muffled noise and collapse in the canyon. None of you can go, the secret road has been destroyed by us. Ha ha ha. A rock shinobi Jonin appeared in front of everyone, staring at the three Yahiko with a grinning smile. Just now, in order to prevent the leader of Akatsuki from escaping, dozens of rock shinobi activated Wang Tong at the same time and collapsed the exit at the other end of the canyon. It also destroyed the secret road underground. Are you afraid of death? Looking at rock shinobi that occupies both sides of the gorge, everyone knew that there was no way out, and immediately Yahiko looked firmly at all Akatsuki members trapped in the gorge and asked loudly. Not afraid. And Yahiko got the answer from everyone in an instant. When everyone was in the industry, they knew that one day they would lose their lives for their beliefs. They were not afraid of death, but the only thing they were afraid of was that their beliefs could not be passed on. Go down. Then fight with them. If anyone can survive by chance, please remember our belief. Kill. Feeling the excitement of everyone's fighting spirit, Yahiko immediately roared and took the lead to kill the nearest rock shinobi, and countless people followed him. Cruel battles erupted immediately, and people kept coming to Yahiko, rock shinobi people, but more of them were Akatsuki people. Yahiko didn't know how long he rushed and killed him. When he recovered, his only Nagato and Conan and several members of Akatsuki's organization were left beside him. Kill them for me. The strength that Yahiko and others burst out with a determination to die, caused heavy casualties to Rock Shinobi, and also made the leader of Rock Shinobi angry. Fortunately, Yahiko and others are already at the end of the battle, not to be afraid. You said, just die here, will the teacher be disappointed? Looking at Rock Shinobi, who flocked to herself and others again, at the very end of her life, Yahiko suddenly thought of her teacher Jiraiya. The three of them smiled at each other and waited for death. Do you need help? But they didn't hear the death song, but Rock Shinobi's horrified cry, and an extremely relaxed voice. Soon the three of them saw a scene that would never be forgotten. A figure walked slowly from Rock Shinobi. Wherever it went, the Rock Shinobi on the left and right seemed to be possessed by a demon, piercing the weapon in his hand into his heart, kneeling down in front of him, and waiting for the figure to walk over. When Yahiko and the others were in front of him, a death tunnel had been formed behind him. Two neat rows of Rock Shinobi kept a posture with their hearts pierced and kneeling on both sides. The scene was extremely strange. The figure who walked up to him again asked Yahiko with a small smile, "Need help?" Yahiko nodded subconsciously, and immediately the other party snapped his fingers with a smile. As the snapped fingers sounded, the whole world instantly became noisy. Boom, boom, boom. The most noisy is the deafening explosion. Numerous Rock Shinobi were blown to pieces, and most of them were hit hard and fell to the ground with hobbies. "It's Deidara, ha ha ha." Art as explosion. With a crazy laugh, Deidara kept throwing various shapes of detonating clay to the densest place of Rock Shinobi, and a very comfortable feeling erupted from the depths of his soul. Immortal Hidan. Feel the fear of the evil god. Hidan is also screaming frantically. He has entered the Cthulhu mode, constantly collecting the enemy's blood, and harvesting the enemy's life. The opposite of the two is that a row of puppets wearing metal armor silently boarded the battlefield. All the puppets wore a tattered black robe, and the metal armor of their hearts was branded with a blood-colored prostitution character. Although this row of puppets is not huge, but the displayed strength makes everyone feel terrified. They are simply tools for killing. Ninjutsu, illusion, physique, puppetry, how to kill faster, how can it make people feel frightened? They just did what they did. Just a moment later, Rock Shinobi, who faced these metal puppets, began to scream and retreat. These puppets were like a plague that scared everyone. Destroy mode, start. The silk standing in front of Yahiko smiled and murmured softly. The next moment 11 pairs of scarlet eyes lit up, and a slaughter that everyone would never forget was shown in front of everyone. A merciless slaughter. There is no room for Rock Shinobi's people to fight back. Rock Shinobi, with hundreds of people, fell into a rout under the hands of just 3 people. In the end, none of them could leave alive. With the disappearance of Third Cage and the complete outbreak of the Third Ninja World War, every country wanted to take a share in the Kingdom of the Wind, but the Kingdom of the Wind unexpectedly showed its strong strength and extraordinary determination. Unanimously outside, united as one, Fourth Cage personally went to the battlefield from time to time, gained high prestige in the country, and just withstood the offensive of the Kingdom of the Earth. The Country of Fire and the Country of Thunder also officially started war because of Nine Tails Jinchuriki. The only 5 ninja kingdoms, the Country of Water, has opened a national policy of shutting down the country, closing off external contacts and sealing off the sea. All people close to it will be attacked by the Country of Water. The battle began to become uncontrollable. The Country of the Earth and the Country of the Fire fought together. The Country of Thunder and the Country of the Wind fought together, and the Third Ninja War completely turned into a melee. As the war continued to erupt, Konoha, the Country of Fire, gradually showed its strength, and Konoha's comprehensive strength faintly overwhelmed the other countries. Every local battle ended with the victory of the Country of Fire. The Rain Shinobi village, caught in the middle of the Country of Fire, the Country of Wind, and the Country of Earth, has become the focus of everyone's competition due to its extremely important strategic location. Like the Second Ninja War, this place has once again become the meat grinder for the Third Ninja War. However, the difference is that this time an organization with a neat command and strong strength is in action. Akatsuki, founded by Yahiko, a disciple of one of Konoha Sannin, Jiraiya, has gathered a group of like-minded comrades in Rain Shinobi village. They firmly believe that peace can be passed. The means of ending the war, through changing the country, build a bridge of hope to world peace. This belief has allowed more and more people to join Akatsuki, and gradually he has become famous. Akatsuki has repeatedly reversed the battle that broke out on Rain Shinobi Village, so that Rain Shinobi Village will not be occupied by the 3 major countries. It also allows more and more people in the Land of Rain to see hope. In 1 year, Akatsuki became the most prestigious organization in Rain Shinobi Village, and even faintly overshadowed the trend of Hanzo of the Salamander, the original leader of Rain Shinobi Village. At Akatsuki's station, countless people were extremely excited. Just now a big man left the station and brought a piece of news that made everyone feel extremely excited. In a forging room in the belly of the mountain, my mother was constantly beating a piece of metal, which looked like a bone. As you can see, there must be no good things to say. Mom, get ready. We are going to the peace talks. Just now Danzo from Rain Shinobi Village came here in person. He invited us to participate in the peace talks of the wind, fire, and soil. We will conclude a peace agreement. At that time, Funying, Hokage and Tsuchikage will be there, and we can finally witness this historic moment. Suddenly, the door to the belly of the mountain was opened, and a boy with short orange hair walked in with excitement. The sun filled Yahiko with a bright smile. There is no shelf of the leader of Akatsuki, sitting on Sasori with a fart. The opposite began to tell him the latest news. Behind him were Nagato with long burgundy hair and Konan with long purple hair. Different from the excitement of Yahiko, Konan and Nagato's faces are more nervous. Obviously, the two of them feel a little strange about the sudden arrival of Hanzo of the Salamander, the leader of Rain Shinobi Village. They are also full of worries about this inexplicable three-nation peace talks. Really, congratulations, but if Funying, Hokage, Tsuchikage are all present, we will not go, otherwise we will do it first before we meet. I happen to have something on hand. Go ahead and wait. Good news for you. Sasori smiled at Yan, and had no intention of avoiding this muddy water. He clicked on Deidara and Hidan, who had the same stinky faces in the corner, and refused Yahiko's proposal. By the way, he raised his hand. Metal being forged. Haha, I forgot that you are wanted criminals in the 3 major countries, and the station will be handed over to you. Yahiko, who was very nervous, remembered the identities of the 3 people in front of him. If the 3 people really appeared at the 3 Kingdoms Peace Conference, I am afraid that this time the Peace Conference will become an escalation conference. With an awkward smile, Yahiko handed over the task of guarding the resident to the 3. After saving Yahiko and others, the 3 of them joined Akatsuki. When Akatsuki was most difficult and hardest, the 3 of Sasori brought Akatsuki their strength. Many people even joined Akatsuki because of prostitutes and others. With the help of 3 people, the Shao organization can reintegrate and regenerate in such a short period of time, and save danger again and again. The Sasori trio nowadays are already another core of Akatsuki, but the trio have not shown any ambitions. It feels like they just want to find a place to live. At first, Nagato and Konan also taboo the identity of the 3 wanted criminals, but after getting along for a while, everyone found that the 3 actually get along very well, especially Hidan and Deidara. The 2 are almost familiar with, but they are relatively familiar. On the contrary, it doesn't seem to be easy to get along with. Most of the time, I will stay in my forging room to make various things. Peace talks. It's really boring. If it's peaceful, where do we go to choose artistic inspiration? When the 3 of Yahiko left, Deidara murmured unhappy. Deidara was a complete terrorist. He was anxious to endure the war in the world. He could meet the war as long as he went out, so that he had enough reasons and goals. Shot. But once the war stops, then his chances of shooting will be reduced too much, and the expression on Hidan's face is similar to him, but Hidan is not worried. Anyway, he only needs to be with his mother, and will find enough things for him. There can never be true peace in this world. Let's go and be a hero to save the field. Sasori was still building the metal bones in his hands. After a long time, he took out the metal bones and said to Deidara and Hidan with a weird smile. Akatsuki's organization is the leader of Yahiko, Bianzi, who has always believed and implemented it to save the world in a peaceful way, but when Yahiko died, Akatsuki's nature completely changed, and Yahiko died at the invitation of Hanzo of the Salamander. He went to participate in this peace meeting. Are you ready? Hanzo of the Salamander looked at the time, and slowly walked out of the dark corner, and asked with a serious expression at the ninja guarding the door. All personnel are in place and are waiting for your order. The ninja nodded. The trap had already been set up. The one who asked you to arrest. Hanzo reconfirmed another matter. It would be too boring to eliminate Akatsuki alone, so he prepared some other sideshows. Not back yet. Hanzo's subordinates lowered their heads. He is very clear about Hanzo's character. What he dislikes most is that someone is not punctual, no matter what the reason is. I have been there for so long and haven't come back. It seems to be a failure. It's really a waste. Forget it, it was originally just an entertainment show. Let's go. Folding his brows, Hanzo immediately snorted. Although he had not received the exact news, he had already prepared for the worst. Fortunately, he hadn't planned to win victory by such small means. After saying this, Hanzo took nearly 100 range shinobi's talents to the ambush circle. Who are you? Yahiko and Nagato will not keep me away from the station at this time. Outside of Akatsuki's residence, Conan followed the two faceless Akatsuki ninjas for several hundred meters and then stopped vigilantly. Just now these two ninjas told him that Yahiko and Nagato had an important secret order to tell Conan privately. Conan followed it out, but when they got here, Conan understood that something was wrong. Conan had just spoken, the two ninjas suddenly turned around and attacked Conan. Not only these two people, but also several ranged shinobi in the surrounding woods, and the first time they attacked Xiaoqi Nan. Attacked. 2 fists are harder than 4 hands. Conan's strength is not strong. Coupled with the opponent's number advantage, Conan suddenly fell into a disadvantage. Seeing that Conan was about to be captured by these ranged shinobi, everyone's movements stopped altogether. Come down. The next moment Sasori appeared in the eyes of everyone, with a finger hook, and except for Conan, the remaining ninjas suddenly fell to the ground. Why would anyone attack me under the guise of Yahiko's order? Nearly caught Conan was in shock, but what she could not imagine was why someone would attack her. An extremely unpleasant emotion arose in her heart. This peace meeting is just a trap. Konoha Danzo and Hanzo of the Salamander are teaming up to get rid of Akatsuki, and they want to use you to threaten Yahiko and Nagato to kill each other. Sasori did not conceal anything, and directly told Conan the truth of this incident. According to the normal development of the plot, Yahiko would eventually die in Nagato's hands because Hanzo threatened with Conan. No, I will immediately notify Yahiko and Nagato. Conan knew very well that Sasori never lied, so he immediately exclaimed, ready to chase after Yahiko and Nagato. He must stop this conspiracy, but Conan's body is weak in the next moment. I don't know what it is. At that time, a bloody mouth appeared on her arm, and the toxin that could make people lose strength had infiltrated his body. It's too late. Sasori showed a meaningful smile and hugged Conan, who was about to fall, in his arms. Yahiko and Nagato have arrived at the agreed place of the peace meeting, but they found that the scene does not seem to be the same. The place where Akatsuki was located was a depression with a raised mountain wall on all sides. At the same time when everyone appeared, countless ninjas appeared around the mountain wall. The only ninjas were ranged shinobi and Konoha's ninjas. The two led by Konoha's Danzo and ranged shinobi's Hanzo. The flames of war came very suddenly, without any warm-up and disputes. When everyone was in place, the fighting broke out. The members of Kunai and Shuriken Akatsuki, who were more intensive than the torrential rain, were all wrapped in. After several waves of rush attacks, most of the members who shall organized to participate in the peace meeting were killed and injured. Why deceive us? At this time, it was clear that the so-called peace meeting was a scam, but what made Yahiko couldn't figure out why Hanzo was deceiving him. And he had to cooperate with Konoha. Your existence has threatened my rule over this country. I cannot let you continue to develop. There can only be one voice in this country, and that is me. Standing on the mountain wall, Hanzo looked condescendingly at Yahiko and Nagato, with a sneer. Since Hanzo became the only voice in Rain Shinobi Village, power has gradually lost his eyes. He has become concerned about gains and losses, and all can threaten his people have become the objects of his destruction. And Akatsuki's organization has developed so fast in Rain Shinobi Village in recent years, and even many ninjas around him have recognized their ideas and left him to join Akatsuki, which made Hanzo unbearable. Asshole. Yahiko heard this ridiculous reason, and immediately rushed towards Hanzo on the mountain wall. It's just that Hanzo just sneered. Okay, the second wave of attacks had already struck, and Yahiko was forced to retreat, and Akatsuki's few ninjas were once again hit hard. Just when everyone in Akatsuki's organization was in danger, Sasori sat on the flying eagle high in the sky, holding Conan in his arms, and had a clear view of the battle on the battlefield. At the same time, Sasori pressed Conan's cheek and said softly to Conan, "Whether you want to save them is up to you. Go and save people. What are you still hesitating?" Conan yelled at Sasori without hesitation. "The next ones are Danzo and Hanzo. If you want me to save people, you have to pay a price." "Why, aren't we friends? Why don't you save them?" The word pay the price seemed extremely harsh in Conan's ears. He did not expect that Sasori, who had joined Akatsuki for almost a year, would suddenly say such words. friend, Sasori repeated the key words in Conan's mouth, and then sneered. It's been almost a year since the three of us joined Akatsuki. Except for the idiot Yahiko, who really thinks of us as friends. You, Nagato, even if we have saved you several times and even helped Akatsuki grow again, you always regard us as wanted criminals, treasonous rebellion, and free labor that needs to be vigilant, far away. I am afraid that there are many people within the Akatsuki organization that do not know our true identity. You want to leave us alone. Clear relations, this can be seen from the room you arranged for us in the most remote corner. On the first day of last year, Sasori dared to play when Akatsuki was about to be destroyed, and joined Akatsuki. In this year, although Akatsuki didn't contribute much, but every shots made, it caused a major change in Akatsuki's situation. He even rescued the three Yahiko who were in desperation many times. But for so long, Sasori has not sought any return. Every time he changes to a new station, there is only one request to give him a room. For this reason, Sasori has been refining his puppets for a whole year, and more often, Deidara and Hidan are shots. These two guys can't wait to fight every day. Although Yahiko is an extremely good leader, he has a natural ability to gather people around him, but his response is slow, and he does not manage the entire organization, so that the various internal management of Akatsuki or in Conan and Nagato operate. A super powerful person who can't see the depth at all and has his own small gang. I am afraid that no matter which organization he goes to, he will be loved and feared by the high level of the organization. The same is true in Akatsuki's organization. Nagato and Conan's attitude towards the Sasori trio is marginalized. First of all, what they did was to downplay the sense of existence of Gia and others, and secondly, they were to monitor in secret, in case there were some special reasons to stay here. An S-level traitor who had betrayed his country was placed in his own hinterland. It is necessary of great courage. Also, you think you and Nagato take turns to monitor us in private, I don't know. Otherwise, why Yahiko and Nagato went to the peace meeting, but you stayed in the station secretly. You were just monitoring us, just in case I conspiracy against the map in your absence. Is this your so-called friend? Don't make me laugh, there is indeed friendship in this world. But it's not you and me. Quote, the definition of everyone in Conan's mouth made Mom sneer again. If Conan and Nagato treat them sincerely during the year, then Sasori may also adopt some soft plans, but the attitude of Nagato and Conan is to make Sasori still decided to use the farthest, simplest and rude way to get Conan. There are indeed many friendships in this world, no matter how this kind of friendship exists, but there is no one between Sasori and Conan now. Conan always thought that his secret actions left no traces, but Sasori was never aware of it. Now he was pierced by Sasori, and Conan suddenly didn't know how to pick up this topic. And what Mom said was not wrong. They did that in the past year. Except for Eba Yahiko who made Sasori a friend in the entire Akatsuki organization, everyone else had strange eyes. They, as if they are the source of the poison, may spread the poison that they carry with them to everyone at any time. Okay, stop wasting your tongue and time. Akatsuki's deaths and injuries are getting more and more serious. This time the trap is formed by Konoha decision-making executive Danzo and Rain Shinobi village leader Hanzo of the Salamander. It is impossible to resist. Conan was just about to continue arguing with Sasori, and had already gently pressed her finger against her mouth, and pointed her finger towards the people who were still resisting. I didn't come to talk with Conan, she came to make Conan succumb. Sure enough, looking in the direction Sasori pointed out, Conan found the largest piece of Akatsuki in the crowd at a glance. The orange-haired Yahiko and the burgundy-haired Nagato are like two stoplights. It is conspicuous, but the entire Akatsuki organization has been divided into several pieces, and Hanzo's people have been in hand-to-hand combat with Akatsuki. However, due to the difference in number and aura, the division of Akatsuki organization is rapidly being wiped out. I believe you know very well that our S-rank rebels have the ability to solve the immediate crisis, but it depends on you whether or not to take action. With mental arithmetic and unintentional, the elite members of Akatsuki's organization are rapidly decreasing. Conan's heart is already desperate, but Sasori in the sky is not in a hurry, and smiles at Conan with a carefree expression. What do you want to do? Conan can't stand it anymore. She knows very well that if you can easily rescue them from hundreds of rock shinobi, you will naturally be able to rescue Yahiko and Nagasan from hundreds of rain shinobi in Konoha, and immediately roared at Sasori. No matter what Sasori wants to do by himself, Nagato and Yahiko are no more important. Be my woman. The smile at the corner of Sasori's mouth became weird, and immediately followed by Conan's people, moving on her body. Don't think about it. Let me go. In an instant, Conan's face changed, and she yelled at the drink. She wanted to struggle, but due to the previous toxin, she didn't have the slightest strength until now and could only let her go upstairs. I'm not in a hurry, you can watch it for a while. You fool, what on earth do you want to do? They are all about to die in battle. The constant kneading of Sasori's hands in Conan's battle uniform made Conan feel extremely angry. In the middle, more and more Akatsuki members fell, and the battle group headed by Nagato and Yahiko was about to be reduced to ultimate. You can see it, I can see it, now they are dead or alive, as long as you say, have you seen Deidara and Hidan? They too can't wait to shoot, but they haven't got your consent yet. Exercising the strength of his hands, in the painful cry of Conan, he put his face from behind, stuck to her face, looked down at the occupation on the ground, and forcibly moved her head to show her Hidan. The location of the two in Deidara. Conan discovered at this time that Deidara and Hidan had been standing by more than 100 meters behind Danzo and Hanzo, and they could launch a surprise attack with a single order. As long as you agree to be my woman, then these people don't have to die. Every second of you, maybe one more person will die. Maybe you think about it. Yahiko and Nagato are the most important to you. I'm going to die too. I don't want your life, I just want your people. After discovering that Sasori had clearly arranged a second hand, but was still wasting time, Conan immediately prepared to confront him again, but Sasori took her mouth first and continued to instill everyone's life in Conan. The concept in his hand. Look, what I said just now, don't hesitate for too long, look at it, it's all dead, only Yahiko and Nagato are left. You plan to watch Yahiko and Nagato a little bit by Danzo and Hanzo. Is tortured to death. Sasori had just finished speaking, and he suddenly shrugged. Conan also began to struggle fiercely at this time. After such a long battle, all the members of Akatsuki's organization have been killed. Only Yahiko and Nagato are standing back to back. Together. With only Yahiko and Nagato remaining, all the ninjas retreated. Hanzo stood on the mountain wall and said something to the two of them. The emotions with Yahiko and Nagato were obviously extremely excited. The next moment Hanzo shot. Yahiko and Nagato weren't Hanzo's opponents at all. Hanzo started late. This is your last chance, because of your determination, enough people have died. The corner of Sasori's mouth suddenly twitched, and he said to the three people who were already standing together. I promise you, go and save them. Hanzo's strength is stronger than everyone believes. Yahiko and Nagato can be said to have failed after Sasori opened their mouths and said two sentences. They were stepped on by Hanzo. Conan screamed at his mother with tears in his eyes. Roaring, a sense of guilt continued to rise in my heart, and the concept of Sasori gradually penetrated into Conan's heart. It is true that it is because he has always refused to agree to Sasori's price, so many people will die. If you agree early, then none of these people will die. Conan's compromise did not allow Shie to immediately launch a rescue signal, but continued to ask with a ridiculous smile, after speaking, what should you promise me? I promise to be your woman. Go and save them. Conan's guilt has changed from anger, and when it was all ready, Mom was still playing a boring word game, and immediately roared. Hey, why do you have to wait until the end before you are willing to make a decision? If you make a decision earlier, more people will survive. It can be said that these people died because of your hesitation. Sasori hooked both hands, and Deidara and Hidan on the ground received the signal at the same time and rushed out of the hiding place for the first time. Sasori stopped paying attention to the situation on the ground, and turned around Conan, who had lost his power. I pricked my tears, my guilt exploded, and the whole Ordovician began to cry. But Sasori smiled, stood up naturally, released his clone, and at the same time several lines appeared, fixing Conan on the flying eagle. What are you doing? Conan showed a look of fear, and his whole body began to tremble. Since you have agreed to be my woman, you naturally have to get a deposit first. As Conan's face rose with fear, the corners of Sasori's mouth became more curved, and immediately he hugged Conan's head with both hands, and the thread opened her closed mouth. Woohoo! The foreign object suddenly burst into the entrance, and immediately made Conan, who could not struggle, wail. Just as he was moving, he suddenly leaned down and whispered in Conan's ear, "By the way, let me tell you something, the paralytic toxin on your body, I accidentally cut your arm away. I'm so embarrassed." Woohoo! Suddenly Conan's wailing turned into an angry roar, his eyes staring hard. "Ha ha ha, I haven't felt this way for a long time." And what Mom wanted was this gaze. A bright smile appeared immediately, and the action increased by a few points. The battle in the sky began, as did the battle on the ground. "Hanzo, you traitor to Rain Shinobi Village. I must kill you." Yahiko, who was stepped on by Hanzo, yelled at Hanzo constantly, but Yahiko, who had been poisoned by the Sancho fish, had no ability to resist. "You have no chance, I will kill you now." "No." Hanzo sneered, and suddenly swung down the hook in his hand, and pierced into Yahiko's body amidst Nagato's miserable howl. Boom, boom, boom. Just as Nagato's screams sounded, a series of explosions also sounded at the same time. A violent and dense explosion sounded, and countless Rain Shinobi were blown out. A fast-flying four-winged clay bird skipped Hanzo's position with a roar, but it was a pity that Hanzo was already out of the way at the same time as the explosion sounded. "Go with Hanzo of the Salamander. I wanted to single you out a long time ago. The legend is the pinnacle of the Chunin world. I heard that you also play explosions. Let's go together. The moment of explosion is art." Boom. Deidara sat on the body of the detonating clay bird, with a grinning smile, stretched out her hand at Hanzo of the Salamander. A snake of detonating clay shot out from the mouth of his palm, and was swiftly in the air by the half-hidden hook and sickle. Shot down and exploded. S-level rebel Deidara, you really are in Shaoli. Deidara's identity was quickly identified. Looking at Deidara's red cloud robe with black background, Hanzo smiled. There are rumors that Akatsuki has taken in several S-rank rebels. Hanzo didn't believe it at the beginning. It really is true. Turning his gaze to Danzo's side, as he believed, Danzo was also attacked by another Konoha's S-class traitor Hidan. "Old fool, let's meet again. This time let you see how Grandpa is great." Hidan has an arrogant face. The last time he fought Danzo, he was torn in half. This hatred Hidan still remembers that after just 1 year of training, Hidan's physical skills have become stronger, and the enemy the blood has been absorbed enough. Now is the time to test the strength. "Immortal Hidan, it's you again, great. This time I want to take you back to Konoha. I want to see if you are really immortal." Danzo's face is also ugly. The last time he fought Hidan and Tsunade, he still has a hidden illness. Because he can't get Tsunade treatment, he has recently secretly started the study of human taboo experiments, and Hidan has nothing to do. There is no doubt that it is the best experimental material. The battle groups on both sides fought at the same time, and the entire battlefield suddenly became chaotic. Just when Hidan and Deidara were about to be gang-fighted, Sasori's 12 Robocops rushed onto the battlefield. The way these 12 Robocops appeared on the stage surprised everyone. Their metal legs were merged together and turned into a wheel, which turned rapidly and moved faster than normal. The ninja is much faster. When the Robocop stepped onto the battlefield, the metal wheels immediately contracted and deformed, and turned into metal legs and joined the battle. At this time, everyone realized what an S-rank rebel. Deidara's attacks were all staring at Hanzo, but the Rain Shinobi and Konoha's Anbu around Hanzo reached the blood mold and were hit by the detonation clay. It was blown out, and the power of detonating the clay was amazing. It looked like only a small amount of clay, but it could impact a large area. And Hidan's strength is also unexpected. His body is like a hedgehog filled with various weapons, and even a long sword penetrates his heart, but he seems to be okay, still fighting frantically. And what shocked others even more was the 12 Robocops. The exhausted Robocops have become famous all over the world, able to fight like living people, and the use of various ninjutsu puppets makes everyone feel terrified. But the Robocop shown this time is even more powerful. The most intuitive performance is that they can actually use the detonating clay howitzer made by Deidara, which is amazingly powerful. A Robocop was beaten by several elite Anbu under Danzo, and eventually destroyed his hands and feet. Just when everyone was about to recycle the puppet and take it back for research, the Robocop actually smiled strangely at everyone. For a moment. Boom. In the next instant, the Robocop suddenly exploded, and several elite Anbu under Danzo were directly blown to pieces. After Deidara joined the team, these Robocops completed the self-destructing device to detonate the clay. The Robocop's submerged brain manipulation program judged that they are no longer good, and when they might be captured alive, they will automatically detonate. The power of the detonating clay produced by Deidara is beyond doubt, and Danzo will be overshadowed immediately. This is why after seeing Deidara, Sasori preferred to fight Onoki, and even dispatched the Tsunade card to pull Deidara into the group. The war in the cold weapon era will eventually be replaced by hot weapons, and Sasori saw this first, and he has subconsciously started to embark on this path, and began to gradually integrate ninjutsu and technology with each other. What surprised everyone even more was that these Robocops could deform and combine. Two severely damaged mechanical men, who were about to be overwhelmed by the crowd, suddenly ran into each other and turned into a metal chariot with 4 wheels. It didn't give everyone a chance to destroy them. Yahiko, I am going to kill you. When the battle was getting hot, Nagato's hoarse cry suddenly came from the field. Nagato's wailing made Sasori, who was launching an attack on Konan in the sky, immediately grunted. After stopping, when Sasori looked at Nagato, he had already begun to perform summoning technique, and the ghetto statue came out from behind Nagato in the next instant. Ah, it's still dead. As soon as I saw this scene, I was sighed with emotion. To be honest, Shie originally wanted to save Yahiko's life. Although he is a fool, he is really not bad at all. It's just that the blood is a little simple. The entire Akatsuki organization feels that it is too dangerous to wait for people and deliberately stay away and isolate everyone, but only Yahiko regards her mother as a friend. Otherwise, he would not invite his mother to see him before the peace meeting started. Regarding Yahiko's death, I just sighed, and they didn't know what to do. He was destined to not be in the same world as Yahiko. Even if he didn't die this time, maybe one day he would die in Sasori's hands. Deidara, Hidan, retreat now. Now, after feeling for a while, he immediately notified the two of them to retreat through the line connected to Hidan and Deidara's ears. At this moment, Nagato has gone violently, and accidental injury is absolutely possible. Once the soul is drawn by the ghetto statue, I am afraid that even the immortal Hidan will be alive. No more. Ah, why? I haven't played enough yet. Hidan has followed Sasori for so long, and it is the first time to hear his tone in such a hurry. Sasori's strength Hidan is the clearest. It can make him show such a panic, and it can definitely threaten his life. Although Hidan often holds himself out fighting, but he never thought that he was truly immortal, so when Sasori issued a warning, he just frowned, and fled from the battlefield aside, fleeing in the same direction as he flew back and forth. On the contrary, Deidara, who was fighting vigorously, looked upset, still staying where he was fighting Hanzo. Sasori cursed secretly. If it weren't for the detonating clay in Deidara's hands, it had become an indispensable strategic material for Sasori. His body began to fly out. What is this? It's disgusting. Just when Deidara left, the ghetto statue was outraged, and all the people who were attacked had their souls drawn alive by the ghetto statue. The soul that had already materialized made Deidara shudder. Originally, there was some dissatisfaction that Sasori forced away his emotions and disappeared. Leaving the battlefield, I didn't let you come back. Don't look back. Sasori pointed at the two again and turned his gaze to Kamui's Nagato. Except for Hanzo and Danzo on the entire battlefield, everyone who was still alive was basically dead. Hanzo and Danzo had realized that something was wrong, and the two were very decisive. All of them fled, and disappeared into Nagato's sight before Nagato could fully adapt to the power of Ghetto statue. Nagato panted heavily and knelt in front of Yahiko. What happened? Konan was fixed on the flying eagle and couldn't see the battlefield, but Sasori's abnormality still made her realize that something must have happened. A bad premonition came out spontaneously, and even the voice of her opening began. A little trembling. Yahiko is dead. Sasori glanced at her, no longer the mood to continue, immediately put away his clone, and told her directly what had happened. How is it possible? How could Yahiko die? Haven't you sent someone to rescue him? Suddenly Konan's body shook, and he started roaring frantically after drinking. She has obviously agreed to Sasori's request. Why is Yahiko still dead? It's too late for you to make a decision. Glancing at him faintly, a poison was suddenly pierced into her neck, and immediately out of anger, Shaoli became sluggish. Sasori looked into her eyes and gave her a reason. It's too late, it's all my fault, I made the decision too late, if I was all my fault. Conan lowered his head, the whole person became hollow, and he began to repeat Mom's words repeatedly, and began to follow Sasori's words to guide himself to his body, pushing all the responsibilities onto his head. The venom that Sasori just injected Conan is a potion developed by Sasori that can depress people's will. The effect is somewhat similar to that of illusion. Conan's character itself is relatively soft. At this moment, I heard the news of Yahiko's death. His spirit collapsed a little, and after repeated thoughts of Ma's words, Conan revealed a breath of despair. Sasori carefully took out a test tube from his arms, and a thin black line similar to eyelashes was suspended in the center of the test tube. Sasori stuck the black fine hair and pierced it straight into Conan's eyebrows. When it was exhausted into a line, Conan's eyebrows only had a red dot, and there was no abnormality at all. This is the latest sand puppet that has undergone many improvements. It is also specially designed for Conan. According to Sasori's original plan, it is indeed about to start Conan's strategy. However, now that the situation has changed a little, it is passed directly. The news of medicine and Yahiko's death smashed Conan's consciousness, and when he was most desperate, he put the puppet in Conan's mind. After putting the sand puppet in, Conan shuddered immediately, fainted, and confirmed that Conan was in normal condition. Sasori controlled her to fly in the direction of Nagato. When Conan woke up again, she was already Sasori's most fanatical maid. Sorry, I'm late, Hanzo's people arrested Conan and wanted to threaten you. It took me a while to save her. Flying Eagle fell in front of Nagato. Sasori quickly told Nagato the reason he had fabricated, but Nagato's condition was not very good, and the whole person seemed a little sluggish. Let's go, starting today, Akatsuki will be born again. It turns out that Yahiko's philosophy is wrong. It is impossible for people to understand each other. The only way to change the world is through force and war. Sasori's appearance made Nagato come back to his senses. He glanced at Conan next to him, and after confirming that she was indeed alive, he drank and nodded. Turning his gaze back to Yahiko, Nagato's gaze changed from bewilderment to firmness. At the moment Yahiko died, the belief that Yahiko had been instilling in him also collapsed. After thinking for a long time, Nagato suddenly found himself deep in his heart. Faith. Although Yahiko is dead, Nagato is still alive. He decides to inherit Yahiko's will to change the country and the world, but it is no longer Yahiko's style, but uses his own methods. It's a coincidence, this is also my view of the world. Because of the difference in concept, I just stayed at Akatsuki, but now can I join the new Akatsuki? The corner of Sasori's mouth twitched, and the development of things was more interesting than he thought, and he immediately reached out to Nagato. Welcome, I want to use my method to change this abominable world. Nagato was silent for a moment, and suddenly shook hands with Sasori. Right now, he really needed Sasori's combat power. As long as Akatsuki was added, Hidan and Deidara would naturally not be able to run. Nagato, like Conan, didn't treat her mother as a member of Akatsuki from the beginning to the end, so now when she speaks, she immediately agrees with exhaustion. Yahiko, let's go, you are not dead yet, I will let you master this world. Use my way. Nagato quickly turned around, picked up Yahiko's body, and smiled at him. Rinnegan was filled with determination to walk towards Akatsuki's station. When everyone returned to Akatsuki's station, Nagato took the bodies of Conan and Yahiko into a separate room, and no one was seen. Next, Nagato began to try to use Yahiko's body to create Pen 6 Paths, which was also Nagato. When I started to accept the evil thoughts of Uchiha Obito who faked Uchiha Madara. Sure enough, not long after the peace conference, Nagato changed Akatsuki's nature, accepting war orders from various small countries in a mercenary model, and at low prices, it attracted attention for a while. And Nagato also sketched his bright future to Sasori and others. The task assigned to everyone is to collect money and find like-minded companions. It was night. In an extremely secret room, Conan was kneeling naked before sitting on the throne of threads. Yesterday Nagato met the man who claimed to be Uchiha Madara. The two have reached a consensus. Uchiha Madara also made a preliminary plan for him. The first step is to collect money, find companions, and grow Shao. Conan gently rubbed the 2 pills, while gently rubbing the exhausted clone, and truthfully reported the day's information to the exhausted. After speaking, Conan proficiently began to swallow the exhausted clone and began to move. You stay by Nagato's side from now on, remember to report his movements to me at any time. Conan's movements quickly allowed Sasori to complete a release, patted Conan's head, and prepared to keep Conan by Nagato's side. Aren't you taking me away? Conan looked up aggrievedly. Why take you away? Just eat you. Sasori smiled, and immediately hooked his fingers, and countless threads tied up Conan's 5 flowers. In her exclamation, she hung upside down in the air, with a bright smile, and started a new experience. Conan's crazy moan-groan echoed in the middle. Sasori, don't you be Akatsuki's head myself. That Nagato is very weak. Deidara and Hidan have always been very disdainful of Nagato. This time Nagato even pointed at them as if they were really the boss, making them very uncomfortable. After returning, they immediately began to spit out. In the eyes of the two, Akatsuki's organization is really meaningless, and even if you really want to join Akatsuki, how could mom be the boss? Nagato is a good one. It will soon become so strong that you can hardly imagine it. Being a leader is very annoying. Let him do some tricks. I can only get what I want in the end. We have been here for almost a year now. I don't have any suitable experimental materials in my hands. I can just search for excellent materials while looking for teammates. Sasori waved his hand very casually. Joining in washing is one of his plans. Now, everything that Nagato does, it's just paving the way for mom, and there is time to continue playing. There are more battles. I have seen it through long ago. Conspiracies and tricks, in fact, have no meaning at all, only if they are strong enough can they be true. The puppet research has reached a certain bottleneck, and more design inspiration and materials are needed, so I am ready to accept Nagato's arrangement and leave Rain Shinobi Village for a walk. The first stop is naturally Konoha. Konoha is more familiar with him, and there are more families with special abilities. Tsunade has not yet been fully confiscated, and Konoha has 2 other goals that he is very interested in. To be precise, it's the target that your group of ghosts and animals are very interested in. I didn't plan to accept a wife, but the voice is too loud. Very good. As soon as they heard that mom was really going to go for a walk, Hidan and Deidara immediately got excited. The two have been holding back here for too long, and now they are finally able to go out to find excitement. I act alone, and you two act together. Following me is too much an obstacle and keeps me behind. It's just that the next sentence of the prostitute directly made the two dumb, and Sasori didn't intend to act with them at all. How about it? Can a copy of the forbidden technique on Deidara come out? Somewhere underground at the junction of Rain Shinobi Village and Konoha, there is a secret laboratory excavated by Sasori. Tsunade and Shizune have been here all year. And the main purpose of the existence of this laboratory is to perfect the forbidden technique of the puppets and to treat Deidara's pain. After nearly a year, the side effects of Deidara forbidden technique have been greatly reduced, at least when the 2 mouths were used to make the initiating clay, there was only a slight pain. Looking at Tsunade and Shizune who just came out of the operating room, Sasori asked Tsunade. Deidara, a hot-headed guy, may die in an accident afterwards. Sasori also counts on his ability to make a large number of clay bombs as an equipment for the weapon police thermal weapons, but once Deidara dies, he thinks it would be more troublesome to get this powerful detonating clay again, so Sasori thought on a whim and wanted to just in case. I can't do it temporarily. The mouth on his body is some kind of blood inheritance boundary, but I can't find any information about the people of this clan, let alone the land of the country, and I have never seen it even in other countries. It's just that it's obviously difficult to replicate Deidara's abilities. Otherwise, the experiment in the land of the earth would not only succeed Deidara as a war weapon. The land of the land did not know where it came from to get the special blood succession boundary that merged with Deidara. Although Tsunade Master has a certain fusion skill, this kind of blood succession boundary is no use. What about the poison on your body? How is the cure? Sasori didn't force it to just nod his head, signaled that he knew it, and turned the topic to Tsunade himself. Even the people of the Aburame clan are helpless, but they are already trying their best to find ways to restrain. Suddenly Tsunade was silent for a while, and immediately told mom that he had contacted the Konoha Aburame clan privately without any concealment. In this year, Tsunade has tried too many times to conceal the tragedy that happened after Silk, never torturing her, but torturing Shizune in front of her, which made Tsunade have lost the courage to conceal anything from her mother. The reason Tsunade continues to work secretly is because the poison in her body and Shizune's body has not been relieved. The poison in both of them is alive, and Sasori transformed it into the form of a curse. As time stretched, the Sasori toxin was almost completely integrated with the two bodies. If Tsunade had the confidence to clear the poison in the body through Baihao technique plus ninja art, meiotic regeneration, now this trick has almost lost its effect. As long as there is any flesh and blood in Tsunade, these poisons will follow Tsunade's flesh and blood. The rebirth of Tsunade, although destroying all of Tsunade's flesh and blood in an instant may be able to clean up this poison, but Tsunade does not think that if she destroys her body in an instant, she can continue to perform ninja art, meiotic regeneration. Then come on. Sasori smiled. Instead of being angry, he encouraged her, and then looked at her silently. The throne of thread was built in the corner, and just sat down. Shizune, help me go back to town and buy some medicine. Tsunade's eyes twitched slightly, and then he turned around and wrote a long list of lists, which he handed over to Shizune. Shizune looked at Tsunade anxiously, holding the list in her hand and hesitating. Only after Tsunade's, rest assured, eyes did she leave the laboratory. The old rule, as long as you satisfy me, I won't shoot Shizune anymore. It's the same sentence, pay attention to your expression. Only Tsunade and Sasori were left in the laboratory, and the atmosphere suddenly became weird. The corners of Sasori's mouth suddenly curled up. He held his chin with one hand and hooked his fingers at Tsunade. Sasori's words made Tsunade, who had always had a straight face, revealed a smile that was uglier than crying, and Tsunade walked slowly. This year, this kind of thing has happened too many times, and it is becoming more and more difficult to satisfy Sasori. Tsunade doesn't want Shizune to understand what is going on, so every time Tsunade is pulled away, and one time it is almost hit by Shizune. It's broken, so Tsunade's list for Shizune is getting longer and longer, and she will work very hard while Shizune is away, hoping that Sasori will not extend her claws to Shizune. I have seen enough of this emoji. I want to see a new emoji now. I guess you can't do well, so I prepared this specially for you. Quote. Just when Tsunade hit her, she suddenly pierced her neck with a poisonous needle. What did you call me? Tsunade immediately started roaring. It's been so long, it's the first time to use her toxin again. It's just a potion that stimulates instinct. Don't worry, your consciousness will still be very clear, and there will never be things that you don't remember afterwards. Sasori smiled, and when he hooked his finger, the thread locked Tsunade tightly and sent it to Sasori. What do you want? Stop, you can't do this to me. Ah. Sasori didn't move at all, just hooked her hand, and the line sent Tsunade up, making her a prostitute completely. I am going to sneak into Konoha. You can forge an identity for me, and by the way, forge a face for me. I believe in your abilities. After everything was over, Tsunade, which was already soft like noodles, was put down. Under the action of the medicine, Tsunade had completely lost the ability to resist. After she recovered a little bit, Sasori turned to the main topic. This is the business for him to find Tsunade. The previous ones were daily routines. Sasori wants to enter Konoha, and the ability of string fruit is actually quite simple, but he mixed into Konoha with a brand new identity that Tsunade helped him forge, instead of entering Konoha with his own ability, and the reason is also very good. Simple, to tie Tsunade and him to a rope. What do you want to do? Tsunade, who was still extremely weak at first, was about to sneak into Konoha, and he suddenly woke up. Konoha was the painstaking effort of her grandfather first Hokage. What did Sasori want to do when mixing into Konoha? Don't worry, I won't mess around, I just collect some materials. Sasori smiled and answered Tsunade's question naturally. What do you want to do? A year ago, you obviously had the opportunity to sit in the position of the head of the Puppet Clan, and you even had the opportunity to sit in the position of Fengiying. But you gave up, and after leaving the country of wind, come and join this unnamed cloud shinobi village, shout what do you want? Tsunade took a deep breath. For the past year, she has always had a doubt in her heart, what exactly she wants to do. From realizing that now, she can't understand the ways and ideas of exhaustion. She was once very close to the top of the world and stood in the world's 5 highest positions, but he chose to give up, and after giving up, he came to this place to live a life like a seclusion. And Tsunade does not believe that he will really choose to live in seclusion here. In this year, Sasori's human experiments have not stopped, and he is even higher in the puppet's attainments. He has seen the latest mechanical puppet Tsunade in person, don't mention it in his heart. How shocked. Hey, you have a good question. What do I want to do? I really didn't think about it. When I first came, I really wanted to sit on the position of the head of the puppet clan. Tragedy, so I want to change this status quo, and let the puppet clan become the inheritance of the Wind Kingdom. When I become the next patriarch, the heart of wanting to change the puppet clan is suddenly not so strong. The puppet clan, to put it bluntly, the mud can't support the wall. Part of the core is not going to change. I'm going to change what I'm doing. Sasori thought about this question very seriously. From now on, I found that my thoughts have always been stronger and changed with my own strength. At first, Mom wanted to be like those pig feet who crossed the novel. It didn't take long. Will be promoted and raised, become the patriarch of the puppet clan, become the wind shadow of the country of wind, marry Bai Fume, and reach the pinnacle of life. Thinking about it, there is still a little excitement. But when he really was about to become the patriarch of the puppet clan, he suddenly felt boring. The puppet clan was too small and too pedantic. He wanted to change the entire puppet clan unless he killed all the old people and replaced them with fresh ones. Blood. It took several years for the puppet clan to stand up again. This process was too long and the gains were too small, so they decisively gave up the idea of changing the puppet clan. Just when I was confused, I became the master of the puppet, and so I wanted to replace Feng Ying and become the king of this country, the shadow of one of the 5 great nations of ninja world. It should be very exciting. But when I kill Feng Ying, after refining him into a human puppet, I suddenly felt that becoming Feng Ying didn't seem interesting anymore. And at this time, new opportunities appeared, human puppets and brain-minded manipulation, making Sasori seem to see the door of new world, challenge the strongest wind and shadow, and stand on the top of the world. It's a pity that that passion and blood disappeared again after Sasori really killed Feng Ying. The mess of the Kingdom of Wind is not a little bit. If you sit on it, you will have to spend a lot of time and energy, and it must be there as a group of grandchildren who are not convinced. Later I found the real reason that kept me changing my mind. That was that the goal I set was too easy to reach, so I set a new goal for myself. I thought that this goal would not be reached so quickly. So I came. After much deliberation, Sasori finally realized that he was changing his mind every time, and the real reason was that his strength improved too fast. The ability of string fruit and the improvement of puppetry made the original goal easy. What goal? Tsunade was stunned at once. What kind of goal is more difficult than becoming the patriarch of the puppet clan and becoming Feng Ying in the Kingdom of Wind? Conquer all the beauties in this world. Wrong. Conquer everyone in this world. I want to conquer the entire ninja world. Sasori straightened up suddenly, with a confident smile on his face, revealing a strong confidence, and smiled at Tsunade. That's right. It is to conquer the ninja world. You are crazy. When Tsunade heard the news, she was stunned. Her first thought was that she was really crazy. It's just to have some fun. You can fulfill your dream if you nest here. Sasori's confident smile did not diminish at all. Although it seemed to be a joke, the strong confidence made Tsunade realize that what Mom said was true. But what makes Gangshu confused is that if you want to conquer the world, what is the use of nesting in Rain Shinobi Village? Here you can complete the dream of conquering the world. It's a joke. What's wrong here? Rain Shinobi Village is the junction of the 3 countries of wind, fire and earth. The strategic position is extremely important. Master is here and can attack the 3 countries at any time, and this is the most chaotic place. I want to build my own. The power is easy, and it is the easiest to fool people who have suffered from war. Sasori smiled ridiculously at the feeling again. The location of Rain Shinobi Village is of great strategic significance to the 5 major countries, otherwise the 3 countries will not always be entangled here. The more chaotic the place, the more powerful forces and terrible dark forces can breed. Wait, but you chose to join Akatsuki. Although Akatsuki's organization is developing rapidly, it is absolutely impossible to conquer the ninja world, and this is also inconsistent with what you said about establishing your own power. Tsunade's brows bulged again. She admitted that Sasori's analysis of the location and philosophy of Rain Shinobi Village was correct, but he did not do it that way. Instead, he chose to join Akatsuki, who was just a small organization at the beginning. That was Akatsuki before, and Akatsuki from the future will scare you. Tsunade's contempt and doubt made Mom laugh immediately, and no one would have thought of how strong Akatsuki would become in the future. Actually, I wanted to take over Akatsuki by myself, but after I came here, I gave up. It was a waste of time. When you first came, you saw that Akatsuki is a refugee shelter. I accept everything. If I spend my energy above this, I am afraid it will be completely degenerate. Sasori once again told Tsunade of his original plan. Sasori chose to cut in a bit early, and the real Akatsuki is only now officially established. Sasori's words silenced Tsunade. What Sasori said was right. Everyone is changing and growing. Sasori's dreams are only changing because of their own strength and opportunities. The small temple will never tolerate the big Buddha. I've seen through it a long time ago. Only the individual's strength is really strong. What do you do, as long as you have enough, and how do you know that I didn't create my own legion? The corpse brought out from the Kingdom of Wind, but it has been consumed by me, so I just want to enter Konoha and continue collecting materials for episode. There are many special ninjas in Konoha. For Sasori, instead of wasting time to manage Akatsuki, it is better to let him continue to strengthen his own strength. In this year, his exhausted strength is far stronger than Tsunade's imagination. Sasori's rhetorical question was even more shocking. Tsunade immediately recovered. The real strength lies in his puppet, and his puppet has the ability to shock everyone, but this year, Sasori only 12 Robocop puppets have been used all the time. Are there really only these 12 Robocops? Obviously this answer is impossible. When I left the Kingdom of Wind, at least hundreds of corpses were taken away. It was Tsunade who saw a special puppet with his own eyes, and the ability of this puppet was even Tsunade. All are shocked. When thinking that Sasori might have a master who doesn't know fear, only knows how to fight, and will never betray Sasori's Robocop core, Tsunade suddenly felt deep fear. She could only comfort herself, all of this, it's just that I think too much by myself. Don't think about it. I won't let you destroy Konoha's stability and peace. When Tsunade heard that he wanted to enter Konoha, he refused without hesitation. Don't get excited, I'm not going to destroy Konoha's stability and peace. I'm fighting now, and I don't need to do anything at all. I just pick up the corpse. How tired I am doing it. And even if you don't do it, I can still get in. I chose to let you take action, just to tell you that I trust you. Sasori patted Tsunade's face. Even in front of Tsunade's face, in Tsunade's extremely shocked expression, countless threads of silk spinning on Sasori's head, and after a while, it changed into the appearance of third Hokage. This is the ability of the new string fruit of the master in Sasori this year. Although string fruit has not yet awakened at the moment, it has already touched the threshold of awakening. Of course, letting Tsunade take the shot is not really trusting Tsunade as he said, but he wants Tsunade to participate in it, and then regret and take responsibility for what happens in the future. Senior Uchiha Road Wolf has worked hard. 3 days later, he appeared at Konoha's gate and handed the ninja proof to the guards of the Hyuga clan at the door, middle. Sasori's current identity is an ordinary member of the Uchiha clan. Sharingan has not been turned on yet, and his strength is Chunin. The real Lu Wolf has actually died in Rain Shinobi Village, but he used his identity and appearance by the way, and through the channel of Tsunade, he also obtained relevant information about Lulong. Lulong is low-key and has not many friends. With mediocre strength, it's a perfect candidate to sneak in. This is Hokage Rock. It's really magnificent when you look up close. According to the corresponding information, Sasori entered the territory of the Uchiha clan very skillfully. The Uchiha clan has always looked at people based on their strength. People pay attention and are happy too. Looking at Hokage Rock, Sasori sighed deeply, and then turned his attention to the Uchiha people who were walking around in a hurry. Why do I see so many living Uchiha clan? I feel that they are all moving treasure chests. Which one should I start with? At this time, the members of the Uchiha clan are still relatively prosperous. You can see ninjas with Sharingan turned on everywhere. These are all coveted experimental targets. Although they told Tsunade that he would not mess around, they were just talking. Wolf, you are not dead yet. Don't rush, the front line is in a hurry, the new summoning order has been issued. Go to the square. Just when Sasori was looking at these Uchiha people like a meat picker in a vegetable market, a voice in the distance suddenly interrupted Sasori's thoughts. Only then did Sasori discover that many people were running towards Hokage Square. Obviously, the battle on the front line had changed, and it was time to call everyone to fight. Sasori immediately ran in the direction of the square like others. For Mom, changing to Hokage Square is just from the small stalls in the vegetable market to the supermarket shelves, and more fresh materials will be displayed. It's just in front of him. Because of some changes in the battle on the front line, you will be regrouped and appear on different battlefields according to your abilities and strengths. After registering and entering the venue, after waiting for a while, he saw a lot of ninjas with special abilities in the crowd. He secretly marked them with strings, and couldn't wait to start a new hunt. After Hokage gave a brief speech, everyone began to accept the group, but the assigned team made him stunned. Uchiha Lulong, you are assigned to Group C, responsible for the logistics supply within the clan, and do not need to be on the battlefield. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.